It is Monday, April 1st, 2019, and this is the MMA Hour. Welcome, everyone. My name is Luke Thomas. I am the host of this program. Thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate it. Even though it is Monday, April 1st, I read books, and therefore I don't think dumbass jokes on April 1st, where I'm trying to trick you, are funny, so I won't be doing them. So don't worry about it. But here's what I am going to be doing. I'm going to be giving you 4 guests today. At 12:20, he's the head coach of American Kickboxing Academy. Javier Mendez will be here at 12:40. He had a great win at UFC Philadelphia, but no bonus. What's up with that? Josh Emmett will be here. At 1 o'clock, right over here in studio, will be everybody's favorite. I actually do like him a lot. Paulie Malignaggi will be here to discuss all that is happening in his life, bare knuckle boxing, Artem Lobov, all that good stuff. And then at 1:30, Justin Gaethje will be here, fresh off of his win at UFC Philadelphia. Plus, you will be my guest, not one, 2 ways. First with the tweets using the hashtag #TheMMAHour. Keep sending them. We always appreciate that when you do. And with the phones as well on the sound off at 844-866-2468. Yes, indeed. So there we go. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I know I did. We are starting a little bit early because we just don't have enough time with the normal show schedule. Otherwise, I'd have to be running uptown for my next job, which I just don't feel like doing today because I am tired and old. So, with that being said, remember, the Monday Morning Analyst is a YouTube exclusive. We will not put this on the podcast portion. However, we got to do it just the same. Let's kick things off here, shall we? It's time for the Monday Morning Analyst. Okay. Basically, I'm going to look today at 2 different kinds of things. One, I'm going to look at some of the standout performers from UFC Philadelphia. And then 2, we're going to answer a basic question. At least we're going to try to answer a basic question, namely, what are the chances that Justin Gaethje would pose a strong challenge to Khabib Nurmagomedov? Now, there's very little information actually to work with, but there are some things that you can point to, and so we're going to do that. So, UFC Philadelphia over the weekend, there were some winners, there were some losers, as there always are. What lessons can we infer? Well, it depends on the fight, of course. Here are the fights we're going to look at from that event over the weekend. And folks might be asking, what about the One New Era card? There were some great fights on there. You could have looked at the Demetrius Johnson guillotine. It was pretty interesting, but I was kind of leaning a bit of a different direction. And obviously, Eddie Alvarez did not prevail, but the gentleman who beat him was actually pretty good. Anyway, point being is, I just felt like this was better for some of the things that I was trying to set up for this particular segment. So, let's do this. Let's jump right to the slides if we can. So this is the first of 2 fights we're going to look at. We're going to look at 3, but the first of 2 quick ones we're going to look at. There's Paul Craig on the bottom. There is this gentleman. I cannot pronounce his last name properly. Please forgive me. Kennedy is his first name. In any event, Paul Craig was pulling guard, and I actually noted on Twitter at the time, you know, he was doing this in the first round where he was grabbing a hold of him, pulling guard, and then he had a pretty active, nimble guard. And I thought to myself, ordinarily inside MMA, pulling guard is not a great idea, but there can be moments where you can make it work. If you have a quick, active hips, good guard, you can switch between full, half, Z, knee shield, the whole bit. You might be able to make something work. And if your opponent on top doesn't really have command on the knowledge of that space about when to go chest to chest, when not to go chest to chest, and they have unusually long arms. His arms are 83-inch reach, right? I'm not sure what mine would be. They're pretty long, right? They're pretty long too, but he's got an 83-inch reach. That's just one less than John Jones. So he has a formidable size, which means if you can create the right contexts, those arms are going to be really exploitable. If you have long arms like that, you're going to have to be really nice and tight on the inside. Or if you want to come over the top, you have to come over the top and then quickly feed back in to appropriate defensive positions, which he did not necessarily do. Now, remember, as I mentioned with all of these Monday Morning Analysts, everything I present to you is not necessarily the best. It's certainly not the only one, not the most complete. I say this every time, and I will continue to. I encourage you to seek out what other analysts might have to say, and then develop a broader understanding as a consequence, and make up your own mind about what you saw. All right. So here we are. We have him on top, Mr. Kennedy. Again, please forgive my ignorance on this one. He is on top in half guard, and you see Paul Craig underneath. I want to show you a couple things here, right? So you see he's got the elbow here, and he's kind of like, it's nice and high. Paul Craig actually could go deep half here if he wanted to. He could reach under, and then he could rotate his body and get underneath. Again, on jiu-jitsu, you want to flatten somebody or you want to get underneath them so you can raise them up, because if you can raise them up, then you can manipulate them to a side. All right? So you see it looks to me like he was going for deep half, and then he kind of bumps a little bit, decides to abandon it, pulls back in, so he is no longer attempting that. And you're going to see this. Okay, here you're chest to chest. There are certain things you can do and certain things you can do. That's true with passing. It's true with control. It's true with ground and pound. But once you create space, you have to be aware that you have now changed the dynamic of your interaction. You have allowed room to be here. That's not necessarily wrong. In fact, it might be the best strategy, particularly if you want heavy ground and pound. But if you're going to do that, you have to recognize that you are creating some certain vulnerabilities that won't necessarily be there if you're chest to chest. Paul Craig recognizes this right away, and with this extra room, you're going to see the following. He comes back down for a second. It's a nice elbow. It's two nice elbows. He rolls here to his left. All right, I want you to pay attention here. And then watch this left knee. He gets it on the inside of the hip and then decides to push and almost goes for an underhook here, although you can see Kennedy try to wrap over the top of it to stop it, it looks like a little bit here, and flatten him back out. But he gets that knee inside, yeah? And that knee inside allows him to push off and then center his hips. So it's okay if you want to come up, and maybe you don't mind working from someone's full guard. But if I'm in Paul Craig's full guard, I'm going to know that this guy is a submission threat quite literally until the final bell. That is not an exaggeration. Probably not the best idea to let him recenter. If you're going to open up your space like that, that's okay, but recognize there might be some things you have to do as a consequence to prevent that from happening, and he doesn't. And so, by giving him space to land his own shots, he also allowed Paul Craig to get back and recover guard. So now he has full guard. It's a bit of a problem, and he's on his knees against the fence. There's no passing here. I think it was, did you guys see Marina Moroz versus Sabina Mazo? Marina Moroz was on her knees in Mazo's full guard, and she pushed down the left side to pass. I'm not saying you can't pass from your knees. I'm just telling you basically can't pass from your knees. You got to be on your feet. You got to be on your feet against anybody good. Now, I'm not saying he was trying to pass here. I'm just sort of pointing that out. You got to be on your feet. Once you're on your feet, you can push on the legs and you can get your knee in for the knee cut. There's all kinds of things. You can achieve the proper inside position, the whole bit. So now he's sitting sort of back on his heels a little bit here, and I want you to pay attention to something here. Here, let's look at this real quickly. This, boys and girls. Let me make a point here. Anybody who's ever trained will be like, yep, you right, Luke, you right. Grips. He who controls the grips controls the fight. That looks like nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why the fight was won and lost. Right here. Not necessarily this moment of gripping, but gripping. It's especially true in the gi, but people think it's not true in no-gi. It is true in every combative art. He who has the grip controls everything. Gripping is the world. Gripping matters more than I can possibly communicate. Anybody who's trained judo will tell you, look at how good they are at attacking grips and stripping grips. They're amazing at it because once you set up those gripping attacks, you're going to send someone for a ride. In jiu-jitsu, if someone has a nice inside, grab on your gi and they're pulling you, you're going to get bow and arrow depending if they're on the back. You can get cross choked. You can get collar dragged. You can get sucker dragged. You can get it's everything. I can take the excess of here and then behind the elbow, and I can bring it across, and now you're going to get armbarred or you're going to get your back taken. Even in no-gi, if I can control your wrists, or in wrestling, if I can control your wrist, if I have a collar tie, I am gripping up on you. I am setting up all the attacks. Students of the world, if somebody grabs your lapel in jiu-jitsu, if somebody grabs your wrist, if somebody does a collar tie, you got to break that. You got to break that. You got to pop the grips off. You have to address those grips, because if you don't, everything will go from bad to worse like that. Like that. If you have an experienced competitor and you have an experienced gripper, you are going to be in trouble. You must address it. He does not address it, and he pays for it dearly as a consequence. Okay? Now, he's a new fighter. He's only got 7 or 8 fights. He'll figure this out. The guy is obviously scary talented, okay? But this was just a guy knowing that he had a bit of an advantage in these particular moments. So he controls this left grip, and you don't really see. Now, he brings his arms in together on the ribs. That's fine, although you can get armbarred if you're not careful, but it's not the end of the world. And he pulls them back out. Okay, that's a nice way to address it. And usually, by the way, if in jiu-jitsu, if I pop someone's grip off my sleeve, I'm going to keep that sleeve. I don't pop it and then let it go. I pop it and then I grab it, right? I pop it and then I'll arm drag or whatever, or then I'll grab a lapel. And now I'm shaking you, You don't just pop it and let it go. Now I'm the gripper, So anyway, he's taking a bit of a beating here, but you can see Craig goes right back to the grip. Right back to the grip, yeah? And he's gripping and he's gripping. You can see him holding it this whole time. And you don't really see him addressing it. I think he felt like it wasn't a big thing. So what if he has my grip? You must address grips. When they put it on, pop it. When they put it on, pop it. When they put it on, pop it. All the time. You must win the gripping battle. I cannot be clearer about this. It is key to the universe. Okay? So he's not, and I want you to pay attention here. Look what he does. He gets inside knee position. So it looks like he could be setting up a number of different things here on that right side. All right? Kids of the world, do you know what this sweep is called? This is called a scissor sweep. You learn this maybe on your first day of jiu-jitsu. Doesn't mean you can't use it on a high-level competitor, but I just want to point out here, he does it a little differently than I've ever done it. The way I was taught was you actually want to pull their weight on top of your knee so that, again, how does any sweep work? You block one side and then you take them to that. And typically you have to lift them off of their base. So the way I was taught this one was you pull them onto you on top of your shin, and then you block whatever side they're going to. In this case, you block that side. That's where that grip comes into play. And then that side and it's called a scissor sweep because, like that, right? So watch, he just scissor sweeps him over like that. Folks, it's a basic, but it works. Now he can't come to his base quick enough, as you can see. But he wasn't trying to. So he's trying to set up the triangle because he knows the reaction is if I send you over and I don't come up on top, you're going to think, aha, sure, he swept me, but he didn't come up on top. I need to get back on top. He waits for you to come back on top, and then he tries to lock in the triangle. Now put up the thumbnail. It wasn't successful. He actually pulls out of it. Okay, you can put it back. So here he is back to full guard, but that was a nice attempt from Paul Craig. All right, and he knows there are certain things he can do, and Kennedy will not necessarily address them right away, including, but not limited to, the gripping. By the way, when he goes over the top like this and he pins his own elbow to his body, that's another form of gripping. It's not gripping with the hands, but I'm gluing you to me. I'm controlling your wrists and your arms, yeah? Like that. And he pulls it out. That's nice. But Craig still has that left-handed grip. Look at that. So what he does is he pushes off with this right leg. Watch him. He gets the inside knee position. Looks like he goes for another scissor sweep. This time, Kennedy plants his weight. No problem. Look at that. Wow, right? What is he controlling? Grips. Grips. I'll say it again. Gripping is everything. Gripping, gripping, gripping. Everyone who has never trained, and I'm not an expert, but everyone who's never trained thinks this is everything, right? And that's great. That is everything. Gripping. Gripping wins. Lack of gripping loses 99 times out of 100. So he extends him and opens him up. What do you think happens next? Whoop, and then brings him back down. It's the same thing. And by the way, I want you to pay attention to something. Look here. When he brings this right knee to the inside, watch what it does. It actually covers the left arm there of Kennedy, so he can not only push him away, he can block him as well. So now Kennedy can't reach in and grab that left leg and push it down and then maybe pass. He blocks all of that by doing it all at once. and then locks up the triangle. You can put the thumbnail up. And, of course, he flipped him on top. And he actually stayed crunched when he flipped him. Did you guys notice that? I think he was, like, trying to, like, pull in everything together. Gripping, ladies and gentlemen, gripping. All right. So then, here we go, blah, blah, blah. We go to the next one that I thought was kind of interesting. Here we go very quickly. Put it up. Here you have David Branch and Jack Hermanson. This was really nice. This one caught me by surprise. He goes for a shot. I don't think he was actually trying to shoot. You notice he doesn't even knee pound here. He just kind of bends over at the waist. You have David Branch stuffing it. So now when he stuffs it, though, he's got an underhook and I think an overhook on the other side. Yep. So now they're 50-50, but if they're reacting and you're aggressing, you can usually be the next person to sustain the attack, which he is. And you see him put the leg out there to turn him, right? And David Branch hangs on. He plants, but he's still in motion. So a lot of times what you see in wrestling is, I'll take him one way, they block, I'll take him the other. Hermanson does something kind of interesting where he takes him one way and he realizes it doesn't work, so he just doubles down on it and does it again. And this time, you can see, look how far apart their hips are. If we're to get, well, let's go back and look. Oops. Look here. They're close together-ish. He's still bent, but there's not too much space, right? So he's able to, like, hold on. Now he's got that overhook and that underhook. And by the way, he's steering him like a bus wheel, right? Look how far he is away now. He's just going to big brother him and then block aside and then throw him to that side. It's the same thing as a sweep. Look. You're blocking aside, lifting them off of their base, and turning them. Whoop, and he goes right down. Pretty nice, right? Now, David Branch does this bit where you can see he's got this elbow on the inside position. He rolls away. You have a choice when someone's got you on side control. You can roll into them with an underhook, and you can roll away. To me, and everyone's different. I've never found a whole lot of success rolling away, but you see a lot of guys do it in the UFC, so I can't say that it's wrong. Again, if it works, it's right. I mean, it just kind of is. But I've just seen more. I just think it's safer to go on the inside. Now, you can still get guillotined that way, but if you go away, you can still get guillotined as well. Put the thumbnail up, please. Actually, never mind. You don't have to. It's okay. I apologize for that. You can go back. So you see him, look here. This is the whole key. He looks like he's trying to set it in. Always want to set the near side hook first. You see a lot of guys kind of do it the other way. Again, if you get away with it, you get away with it. But Ryan Hall one time told me that. He was like near hook first all the time. Okay? So here's what he does. Looks like he's going to sink that near hook, but he just really is occupying the space with his knee. Then he's going to switch the grips like that, right? And he's going to hold that position. And then David Branch kind of goes to this place to kind of reset, get on his hands and knees. Who does this setup where it looks like they're taking the back and then they go for the same side arm in guillotine? Pedro Munoz has the best one of these. This was kind of telegraphed. Pedro Munoz can do everything, including the hook, all the way in and then switch. He is the man at this. Shouts to Pedro Munoz. I think he did it in the Russell Doan fight. Go and check that out. He had a nasty setup just like this one. Looks like he's taking the back and then he switches for a guillotine the other way. So you can see what he's done here. He's already wrapped inside. He's got the knee protecting the space. When he sits, remember, if I'm going to guillotine you on this side, I want to be on this hip. I can't guillotine you if I'm up in the air. I got to be on that side. So he goes to that side. He just pulls him down like this. He just weighs on him like a cannonball. Branch instinctually, I think, reacts by grabbing the fence, but he lets go. It doesn't matter anyway. Now, I'm not very familiar in practice with the arm-in, same-side guillotine. I don't know exactly how the mechanics of that might change. Typically, if you're going to be choking on the left side, you want to be on your left hip. He's a little flatter on his back, but that might be a consequence of having that arm in the way he does. I don't know. So I will admit that that's a limit of my knowledge. That's something I'm not very familiar with in practice at all. But it doesn't really matter because he gets the tap there. Nice work from Jack Hermanson. But the point being is he fakes like it's a back take and then just switches the grip behind the head and then just sits out. All right, nicely done. Okay, put the thumbnail up and then we'll get into the Justin Gaethje stuff. Just wanted to show you that because I thought it was really nice. All right, so we'll file through this here pretty quickly so we can make time for everything else today on the show. God, there's never enough time, is there? All right, let's go up here. So now let's look at Justin Gaethje and how he fought Edson Barbosa. I'm not going to mince words. Gripping is important in this one too, and you're going to see it when he gets his grips. It's a different kind of grip, but it's still a grip. I'm going to hold you in place, and I'm going to hold an appendage or some other kind of extremity to keep you where I want to keep you. And he uses it for a different purpose, but I said at the beginning of this, and I will keep saying it, gripping. Today's lesson is gripping, gripping, gripping. You'll see schools or guys will spend an hour just grip fighting because gripping is everything, all right, in any event. All right, so how did he win? Look, a lot of this doesn't need to go into great detail. He uses a lot of the basics. Forward pressure. By the way, I was really impressed by him. Folks were like saying, oh, he fought smart this time. Yo, he fights smart every time. He also fights recklessly every time, but it's never one or the other. You're going to see in this is much more of a thoughtful guy. On initial exits from attacks from Barbosa, he was exiting in these concerted motions far enough away and in a circular manner to not get caught. That sounds like nothing. I can't tell you how many UFC fighters at a high level don't do that. He does it. Small stuff like that. But in any event, forward pressure, right? High guard, where he does a lot of, you guys ever noticed, he has a high guard like this and he kind of protects himself. He does a lot of bending over at the waist to duck and dodge too. I'm surprised he doesn't get hit with more knees, although Eddie Alvarez finally got him, because he does a lot of this the whole time, right? But it works to just sort of pressure forward, high guard. You saw Anthony Pettis do something relatively similar. He keeps a high pace where he's doing a lot of frequent output. He doesn't take a lot of breaks in a fight, which I believe is sort of like a speed chess, which, you know, maybe you're better at chess, but if I'm better at speed chess, where you're kind of on a clock, I can force you into mistakes. And a lot of cage cutting. You guys all saw this. Anthony Pettis, we saw last week, would pressure into him and then follow. He does not follow. He cuts you off and then drives into you, right? So all the classics are there. Those don't really need a whole lot of explanation. Here was interesting that I thought. He employs entry points two ways, with stance switching and leg kicks. This is the point I've been trying to make about Justin Gaethje. Oh, Justin's a wild man. He's super reckless. Yeah, sometimes he is. Sometimes he is the most reckless man I've ever seen. He does not get credit enough for some of the trickery that he does. He did a lot of stance switching because he realized he can trade leg kicks with Barbosa all day long. Probably not going to be a great way to win. He has beaten guys with leg kicks, but think about Justin Gaethje's best offense. Where does it come from? The mitts, right? That's really what he does. When he puts them hands on you, it's Armageddon, right? That's what it is. So that's what he's always trying to find, is a way to, soften you up, hurt you with the leg kicks, so he can get into a nice enough range to pop you. He does it with stance switching is one way, which we'll show. And the other one is leg kicks. Not only does he throw leg kicks to slow you down and soften you up, which allows him to pressure, when you leg kick him, two ways. One, he'll lean his leg out in an angular way to continue the motion. Or what he'll do is he'll leg kick you in circle, and then he'll let you leg kick him, and he'll take a small step back and then pressure forward very quickly. So whereas before he'd have big retreats, if you leg kick him, he'll have a small retreat and then a nice forward pressure. 3, finding the grips or hangers. This was the key to everything. What he would do is he would stance switch his way inside a lot of times, and then he would find it, and from the left side, he would throw a shot. Often it wouldn't land. Sometimes it did. Often it wouldn't land, but what would he do? Collar tie. He'd have a collar tie, and then he would ball up the fist. And like I said, in the word of Vinny Paz, it's Armageddon when he balls up the fist, right? Crushes him. And then the other one is hangers. We've seen before where, guys will throw a shot, and he'll kind of have he'll block that way, and then he'll use that to regrip on you. Gripping. And then he'll pick his spots and clinch or pockets. I have noticed that I went back and I watched some of his other fights. When guys brawl with him, they're doing a lot of wild stuff. He is too sometimes, but he's much more about throwing, and then he picks his spots in the middle of it, right? He has moments in the middle of these exchanges where he waits a second, reads it, and then pops you to get cleaner shots off, right? Okay. So with that in mind, by the way, real quickly, just want to point this out. I was looking at how guys have certainly beat him before. God, I'm so running short on time. Long story short is, look here. These are the two places he does work. He obviously never goes to the ground. This is a relatively common scenario, 60-40 for him. This is the one you want to pay attention to. He is a headhunter who throws leg kicks at about this clip, maybe 2-1, something like that, with body shots in between. Here's what I've noticed. Anytime he is outside of the teens on leg kicks, anytime he is outside of the teens, he doesn't lose fights. In the two fights with Alvarez and Poirier, he was inside the teens. If you can do other things through motion or pushing him back where he can't get that off, he can't get the other stuff off as easily, okay? So with that being said, let's take a look at, here, you put the thumbnail back up very quickly. Very quickly. Woo! I could have designed this better, and I didn't, because I slept 2 hours last night. But what else is new, gang? All right. Jesus Christ. Da-da-da-da-da. Why did I put all this extra in here if I wasn't going to use any of it? I am a stupid, stupid man. Hang on. Okay. Okay, you go ahead. We're back very quickly. Here we are, very early. You can't quite, it's blurry, but it'll get better. 4:41, we're here. Let's just watch this for a second. I'll tell you what he does. Boom, he eats a low leg kick, right? Look how he stays in position and then pushes you back. You can say, oh, look, everyone does that. No, they don't. When he kicks you and you try to react, he gets way out of the way. Here he just kind of eats it and drives forward. You see he kind of feints, stutter steps, and then he goes to the body, and he does this a lot. He'll go to the body or the head, and he ducks a lot, right? He doesn't slip. Exactly. He ducks a lot. Just keep that in mind, okay? And then he gets out of the way. You can see then he does a big retreat, all right? So we'll point out, like, you can see how fast he can close the distance. If you don't kick and then exit, if you kind of just kick and stay, he'll be right on top of you, man. You got to, like, one of the reasons Dustin Poirier won was high output. The other reason was, dude, he was on his horse constantly, and he was making Gaethje turn a lot. If Gaethje can come in straight lines, he can do good work. If he's having to turn a lot to follow you, he can't quite get off. No one can. No one can get off quite as much. Barbosa comes in a lot of straight lines. He does angle some, but not like Poirier. Poirier is doing a lot of touch, throw a heavy shot, circle. He's switching stances, hitting him, doing a dart. He was just constantly in motion, which didn't allow him to get the leg kicks off, and then yada, yada, yada. All right, so you get the idea. Here he is. He fakes a shot, right? He doesn't really, looks like a knee tap he's going for. Barbosa stuffs it, and he throws a hand here. He misses. But I want to point out, look at the left hand right up here. He's trying to find different ways so he can get that left-handed collar tie, okay? And it doesn't work this time, but we're just 20 seconds in. Here we are just a few seconds later. You can see he ducks again, kind of jabs to the body. That's a nice shot. That's a nice shot from Edson Barbosa, boy. That one must have hurt. Here's the problem. He stays in the pocket because you want to throw more than one shot, and the left hand from Gaethje doesn't land. But you know what it does do? It stays as a collar tie. Here's his grip. There's your grip. Gripping. It's not all the same kind of gripping, but now I can control you. And what do you think happens next? Bang. Bang. I love that shot. He comes underneath and then over the top. He doubles up on right side attacks, even outside of dirty boxing. Pretty amazing. And then he follows up here. Excuse me. Right? Barbosa kind of attacks. And look at Gaethje just waiting. Bing. Bing. Oh, look at that. And he's overcommitting a little bit. Keeps the left hand on you. That's not a grip, but it often has a similar function. Now, he does get, you can see, look, there's the hanger. I was telling you about before. He's just kind of hanging out there, acts as a blocking mechanism, right? Boom. And then he kind of gets him in the eye here a little bit. So I felt bad for Edson Barbosa. He did get legitimately poked. All right, let's move along on this one. Here we are a little bit later, or a minute later. This is no big deal. He gets that left hand. Gaethje is so good at getting out of these clinch spots. Barbosa was trying to turn him this way. Watch Gaethje go inside. This is just straight up wrestling. And he's just going to shuck him by like that. There's more to the story, but we're running out of time. All right, so that's nice. All right, here we are again, about 10 seconds later. Throws a kick, misses. Now this time he resets a little bit. Comes forward, hands high, fakes and feints, jabs. Tries to hold on, ducks out of the way, can't quite get it, but you can see where he's heading with that. He wants to hang on. 10 seconds later, same thing. Here he is, stutter stepping his way inside. Now watch, he's in an orthodox stance here. He fakes the right so he can switch stances, bang on the left. Then he wants to hold you with that same grip, bang on the right. So I'm talking about people like Justin Gaethje is just a wild animal. Okay, he is a wild animal. Dude, he's a thoughtful, good fighter. He's a thoughtful, good fighter, and he deserves credit as much. And he goes after him here, like this. Boom. All right, here we are. We're near the beginning of the end. He's following him here, yeah? He gets right, takes center, cage cutting. We talked about that at the beginning. He eats the shot. This is what I'm talking about. He'll do this one where he brings his heel up to his rear end, and he stays in motion. You see that? He didn't take a step back. He didn't circle. He didn't even stop. Stays in motion. Now, that's just a little bit of just true grit. And now look where they are. They're on the warning track, which we talk about all the time on the show. Takes another step, throws the right hand. Again, it's boxing range where he does all his good work. You want to beat Justin Gaethje, You got to beat him either in this range or remove this range, right? And this is my favorite. Look at his stance. This is an orthodox stance, right? It's an orthodox stance. Throws the right hand, switches, boom. This is the same kind of shot that Anderson Silva dropped Forrest Griffin with. There it is. He goes from orthodox, right foot comes forward. Now he's a southpaw fighter. Boom. Catches him on the exit. Dude, that is nice, nice stuff. All right, last thing on this, and then we got to go. Thumbnail, please. Folks have been asking, how would it go against Khabib Nurmagomedov? And the answer is, I don't know. I looked at Justin Gaethje's takedown defense rate. It's 80%. He's been taken down twice. Let me show you how unimpressive the takedowns are. Go back to the thing here. He got taken down in the Michael Johnson fight. This is the takedown. Ready? First round, 30 seconds left. Michael Johnson lands a hellacious right hand. Now, the right hand is nice, and it hurts Gaethje. Look at that. It buckles him bad, okay? And then you see Michael Johnson swarm him. But look at the takedown. He just gets up underneath a hurt opponent and does an outside trip and then just secures top position. That's it. And then look, even hurt, he'll go to his wrestling base and then he'll stand. Just like this. Right? God damn it. There's your one takedown. That's one takedown. Here's your other takedown. It happened against Eddie Alvarez. I wouldn't even count this as a takedown, but Fight Metric does. He shoots. He can't get it. You can see all the way. Gaethje drops to a knee. So Eddie Alvarez beats the arm quite wisely and gets behind him, right? And this is, by the way, deep into the third round. He gets stopped about a minute later. So you've beaten on this guy a lot at this point. Like, you've invested physical damage, right? And then he just comes around and trips him and then controls him here. But look, he can't last it. He tries to take the back and secure the arm. Gaethje rolls with it, tries to get the high hips, puts the leg inside, turns back into him like this, and then gets out of it and spins out just like that. So, this is my point about this. It's like, how would he do it against Khabib Nurmagomedov? Dude, I don't know. I have no idea. If it lasted on the feet, I'm guessing Gaethje would win. Those are the only two times he's been taken down in the octagon, and they look nothing like what Khabib could do. So you basically have one of two decisions you have to make. One, you think it'd look like this, and Gaethje would pound him out, or you think, okay, well, as good as Alvarez and as good as Michael Johnson might be, they don't have Khabib Nurmagomedov wrestling, and I would agree that they don't. But he would have to do it. One last thing on this, and this is the point I really wanted to make. I asked Fight Metric about this. Ready? So here's the deal with this. People have said, Khabib could just control him. You know what's gone down in the UFC? Finishes from ground and pound. Finishes. They still happen, but they're much rarer. Here's what they tell me from Fight Metric. Starting in 2012, the annual percentage of total KO, TKO, stemming from ground strikes has fluctuated between 16 and 26%. Prior to 2012, it was 32%. In 2010, it was 46%. And it's since plummeted. Now, they've added some women's divisions and some lower weight classes, so that had something to do with it. But here's the deal. Submission accuracy is up. 2015, it was, 2015, it was 30%, 2016, 29, 2017, 27, 2018, 29, sort of holding steady in that 30% range. Here's the point being, Khabib Nurmagomedov's style is efficient for winning fights, but it's not efficient for putting people away. It's not really good for that. So you got to control that guy for all that time or find a way to submit him, something no one's ever done. It's a crazy thing to consider. How would he do against all that kind of stuff? I don't really know. No one really knows, because Khabib would have to do to him what no one's done. Conversely, he would have to do to Khabib something that no one else has done. You could say Gleison Tibau did it, but Gleison Tibau didn't really hurt him. It would be a highly interesting matchup. A highly interesting matchup. He's got a style to control, but not to put away, although he can put people away sometimes with a submission. But the ground and pound itself, you wouldn't really get a whole lot with that. He's going to be hard to finish a ground and pound. You have to do something else. But can you do something else against the guy no one's ever done that to before? You get the idea. Okay, put the thumbnail up. So, there you are. Thanks to Fight Metric for all that. I had a little too much to go through. Always remember, kids, what's the lesson here? Justin Gaethje wins in boxing range. Gripping is important. And that's the Monday Morning Analyst. There we are. All right. Very good. Woo! This chair is short as hell. Let's put this up. There we are. Now I feel like a man. All right. We'll get this going here in a second. I went long because I always need to go long. What we'll do is we'll do calls up front, and then we'll do calls at the end as well. We'll stitch it together for one kind of sound off. I hear hissing in here, by the way, in my headphones. I'm not sure what that is, but I definitely hear some hissing. And it sounds trifling. Oh, yeah. Can we turn my headphones down anyway? That helped with the hissing a little bit. It helped with the hissing a little bit. I don't know what that is. That is unfortunate. Boy, that is terrible. We're going to have to figure that out. All right. So we'll get going here in just a second. Appreciate everyone's patience with all the studio switchovers. Let me know when we're ready, and we will rock this joint out. We're good to go? What do you think, Joe? Oh, all right. We'll switch there, guys, so we can get this going. All right, ready? Yes, no? I cannot hear anybody back there. All right. Time now for the sound off. All right. Let's go to my man, the Percocet to my drug addiction. Where is he? Let's see a picture of old Danny Segurs. Hey, buddy, how are you?
What's up, man? I'm feeling good.
All right. You want to tell folks what you've been up to or no?
Yeah, I got surgery last week for a hernia,
Yep.
last Wednesday. So, I've been a little bit of pain, but, I've been pulling through, so I'm all right.
All right. Well, I appreciate you hanging in there.
Yeah.
Glad to see that the Percocets are working their magic.
Yeah. Feeling good.
All right. Very good. We can figure out the hissing in my headphones later. Let's do this. Let's get right to these calls. We're going to have to come back to them later as well, but we'll start on them now. So kick it off here, please.
All right, let's do it. Well, big topic with Conor McGregor retiring. A lot of people are speculating why that came about. So, there's a few theories out there, but, this caller suggests one that maybe a lot of people might agree with. So let's listen to it.
Hey, Tomas, Choo Choo Train, and Danny, Yasmin here. 2 questions really quickly. UFC moved to the ESPN completely, ESPN Plus and ESPN TV channel, which makes me thinking, what about the rest of the world? Correct me if I'm wrong, but ESPN is US exclusive. ESPN Plus is region locked. I can't be a subscriber of the ESPN Plus anywhere in Europe. So now how to get even pay-per-views? And second, Conor retires just after new ESPN deal. Do you think it had something got to do with it? I believe he can't get pay-per-view points now how he did before. Probably they are offering less money than before. I think he retired because it's not worth it. Anyhow, keep up the good work. Bye.
All right, so first of all, the ESPN, the pay-per-views, everything international will remain the same. The whole thing that you can only get pay-per-views through ESPN Plus is here in the U.S. So if you're an international fan, you don't have to worry about that. This is only for the U.S. folks.
That's correct.
So with that out of the way, let's talk about that. So Conor McGregor retired, right? And, we know that he was big on pay-per-view points because, he is a big draw. That's how he makes a good chunk of his money. Do you think that's the reason why he retired?
I think, look, he's trying to exert maximum leverage right when they go to pay-per-view with ESPN Plus is probably got something to do with it, right? Because if you want to fold that over too, Joe, that'd be great. Look, man, I know for a fact that ESPN wants to feature Conor on one of their platforms at this point, probably their linear TV, but they'll take pay-per-view at this point as well. And him sitting out doesn't help that effort at all. How effective that will be in getting them to make any kind of change remains to be seen. I suspect not very powerful, at least not right now, but it probably could be related. Sure. It's a theory. I don't have any proof. So
yeah.
Our hypothesis.
By the way, quick parentheses, your Molly to your Percocet. You know that song?
No,
Percocet. Molly Percocet.
I am not a fan of Lil Xan or Gucci Gang, Lil Pump.
Yeah. Well, we have a question about your raps, a rapper that you might know of later on the show. So anyways, but yeah, so for people wondering, it's not that fighters won't get pay-per-view points moving forward, because I am assuming they will, and most likely they will.
Yes.
The thing is, the pay-per-view buys are likely going to drop because now they're behind a paywall, right? For example, I'll put you this perfect example. My dad never orders a pay-per-view. Never. I think he's ordered maybe 2 in his life or 1, and the most recent one was UFC 229 because he saw the commercials about Khabib, he saw the commercials about McGregor, he knew that was a big fight, and he's like, F it, let me watch it. He's not doing anything on Saturday night, so he ordered that pay-per-view, and he ordered it through his cable provider. Guarantee you, he's not going to go on the computer and buy the pay-per-view, sign up to ESPN Plus, and then buy the pay-per-view if it came about it. It was just something that was there. It was easy for him to do, and he bought it. So technically, the pay-per-views will drop most likely. So, I'm guessing fighters like Conor McGregor would demand a higher percentage since, to make up for that kind of loss. So, I'm with you. I think this whole retirement thing is him exercising leverage. I don't know how serious he's going to take it. I think he's willing to sit out for a bit. But I think eventually he will come back. I don't think this is a do or die for him. Do you agree?
I agree.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, let's actually talk about some of the fights and some of the action that went down this weekend. So let's start off with one. Demetrious Johnson picked up a pretty solid win over at one. So let's discuss that.
Hey, Luke and Danny. This is Brian Siskin from Nashville, the unfortunate destination for all bachelorette parties. So I was curious to see how Demetrious Johnson would adapt to the differing rules in one, specifically with respect to knees to downed opponents. DJ went beyond just being aware of that new threat and actually took advantage of knees while his opponent was down, which really began his fight-ending sequence. Is DJ an anomaly being able to adapt so well? Do you think this will be an issue for other fighters coming to one from the UFC? Just seems like it'd be really tough to retrain your instincts to account for that threat. Would love to hear your thoughts on it. Thanks.
Yeah, it's sort of 2 parts here. One is that, yes, DJ is going to be able to adapt to any kind of different rule set better than just about any other fighter. On the other hand, what I would also say is, not to diminish his contribution because it is as real as the caller identified it being, it actually is the fighter's instinct to knee in that situation. It's in the unified rules that they have to suppress that instinct. On the one show, they no longer have to. So it's actually a reverse repression where they have to repress the initial previous desire to repress throwing the knee, if that makes sense. They're so used to, like, I want to throw it, but I can't. Yeah. Now you have to work around that. But yes, DJ is going to acclimate to any kind of rule set change better than most fighters.
And a perfect example is, the other former UFC fighter, former UFC champion who fought on that card, Eddie Alvarez. Remember when he fought Dustin Poirier the first time? He landed an illegal knee. He's like, I'm not a dirty fighter. I'm not a dirty fighter. It was just an instinct. He's in that position. He's trying to finish the fight, right? Your whole goal is to beat up your opponent. And he threw a knee. And then, we know what happened with that first outing. So yeah, it's definitely a lot more freeing, I feel like, the one rules. But I would say I feel like Demetrious Johnson is somebody that will adapt very well, given, what I've seen in other fights. One, his size, I feel like fighters that are smaller tend to, use perhaps, more knees and more of those type of strikes than, say, like a bigger fighter. And 2, like, do you remember when he fought John Dodson? And John Dodson was playing the whole, putting his hand on the ground to make him a grounded opponent, and DJ kept bumping him up just to knee him. So I think DJ will adapt quite well. And there's definitely some fighters that we've seen in history that, adapt to those rules than others. I mean, Shogun became famous for his stomps, Vanderlei for his soccer kicks. You can go down the list. So, it's gonna be fun watching Demetrious Johnson in this new rule.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems I have with the one organization, but the rule set is not one of them. I actually like their rule set. I think it's smart, and I think Matt Hume has probably had a lot to say about crafting a rule set, not for Demetrious, but just generally in his role as VP. And I think he's done a great job.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely exciting. All right, now let's talk about Khabib, and you kind of touched on this on your Monday Morning Analyst.
I had to race through it.
Yeah, but so let's discuss it further.
Luke, Danny, and the crew, it's JD from a tiny town in the middle of nowhere in Canada. Just curious, I know I dropped a part of this message a while ago, but Khabib really does have yet to face a top high-level grappler, and we know Khabib Max Holloway is going to be top-tier striking versus top-tier grappling. However, is Justin Gaethje actually the more dangerous fight to Khabib? I've watched that guy wrestle through World Series of Fighting. I've seen the old videos. Man is a beast, and he can bang. Is it possible he's the threat no one really saw coming for that belt? Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Yes, he is. I can't declare that as true, as fact, as I know for sure. But I showed the 2 takedowns. They only happened one case where he got absolutely floored, and another case where he had been hurt over the course of 2.5 rounds from Eddie freaking Alvarez. And he got right back up under both of those considerations. Khabib's not the kind of guy who really puts hands on you like that, not nearly to the same extent. Of course, he's a much better wrestler than those 2 guys as well. So the answer is I don't know, but I think there's a lot of reasons to think, Danny Segura, that it's a very compelling matchup.
I would have to agree. And look, there's something about his, I don't know, his physique, his structure that you see him and he just seems so wiry. Like you never really see him resting. He's always just kind of ready to, always recharged, ready to, exert power. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, it's very difficult to deal with someone like that if you're trying to take them down. 2, fighting Khabib, you want somebody, right? If you're trying to win, of course, you want somebody that's ready to go from the very beginning. When you're on your feet, you got to maximize your time, right? Because you know that once he gets you to the ground, it's going to be a tough fight. This type of fighter where you pick your shots and take your time and set them up, I don't know if that's the right striker to make the most out of, striking with Khabib. I think someone that's, always, metal, foot on the pedal 100% of the time. I think that's the way to go. And Gaethje is that. I still have questions about his wrestling because, as you mentioned, there are some things that like we can see and we can see he's got great takedown defense, but I feel like it's still very little. But man, I really do think if Gaethje puts up a couple wins, and especially now, I saw a much more measured Justin Gaethje in that fight. I think he could be a real threat. I think he could be the threat to Khabib.
The thing about the guy who's super aggressive going after Khabib, it's not that I don't know what the right answer is. You
can get overexposed for takedowns.
Exactly. Yeah. I sort of worry about that Khabib is actually like surprisingly quick. Yeah. And I wonder if him getting underneath something and someone's overcommitting to something would just make the job of Khabib a little bit easier versus someone like Conor who's a little bit more concerted in that way. And of course, Conor I don't think can wrestle like Justin Gaethje can, but you get the idea. There's a lot of different ways that could go. Here's the point. A lot of times I can sort of piece together how a fight might go. Yeah. I don't know about this one. I really don't know. It's much more interesting than I think folks can. When Justin said it the first time, I was like, let me think about that. And then I really began to think about it. And I saw those 2 takedowns in preparation for today's show, and I was like, oh, this is much more of an interesting question than I think anyone realizes, except Justin Gaethje.
Yeah. Well, I think he knows. He's like, for when he came into the UFC, I feel like he just came with this mentality, like, look, I'm in the UFC, I made it, I'm just here to entertain. Now he's like, I'm going to make my way to Khabib. And, he's willing to fight anybody to get there. But, I don't know. Did you see like a much more measured, a much more patient Justin Gaethje in this fight? Like, I feel like
this was a much better performance than he had against, let's say, Michael Johnson.
For sure.
The only thing I was pointing out when I was pushing back against people being like, well, he fought smart this time. Yeah, he did. And again, the Michael Johnson one, he was a little bit wild.
Yeah.
But he's been doing a lot of things that were clearly thoughtful that he never got credit for because the barbarism he fights for just drowns out everything else. And it kind of upsets me. It's like, I get the point. No one loves his barbarism more than me. But to say that this was the first time he ever really showed a lot of intelligence, no. He shows intelligence in high-level fighting. He just marries it with some craziness. And I think that's the reality.
Yeah, he's definitely, I agree with that, but I'll push back a little bit in the sense of, I feel like he's always, to do what he does, you got to be an intelligent fighter. I mean, he's obviously, implementing like great technique out there, but I feel like in this fight, he wasn't, I mean, you always got to compromise, right? If you want to be an exciting fighter, but I feel like he dialed down a little bit. It kind of reminded me that one time when Vanderlei Silva fought Kung Lee, where like, yes, he had that crazy barrage of punches that he always throws, but like it was smart aggressiveness.
I'll say yes to that. Again, I think we're mostly agreeing. I'll push back on the pushback just a hair on that, Danny, and I'll say this. I don't think in the end, I wasn't sure how Edson and Justin would match. In the end, I think Justin was a very bad matchup for him. Because if you go back and you watch the Alvarez fight and then you watch the Poirier fight, watch how much they're turning him. Watch how much they take away pieces of the game that he needs to succeed. Edson didn't really do that. Edson just kind of stood his ground. That's not what Eddie did. That's not what Dustin did. And I think that kind of plays into it too.
Yeah. Well, I feel like he got rocked early. It was a very quick fight.
Bro, Eddie got rocked early too.
I mean, Eddie always gets rocked early, but yeah. Yeah, I want to see more of Justin Gaethje. I want to see like how he looks.
It's an interesting question.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
not
Really
settled
is.
by any stretch of the imagination.
Isn't the lightweight division fun, man?
Dude, it's the best division
awesome.
in MMA.
Yeah,
I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, well, I'm gonna get Javier Mendez. You want me to leave you with a question?
Leave me with one, then go grab Hav, please.
All right, cool. Let me see. Here it is. All right, this is all you, homie.
All right.
Hey, what's up, Luke? What's up, Danny? This is Lex, man. I'm calling out of Louisville, Kentucky. I actually just had a somewhat of an off-topic question for Luke. Luke, what's your favorite song out of these last 3 Pusha T albums? What's your favorite song from Daytona? What's your favorite song from My Name Is My Name? And what's your favorite song from Rapper King? I'm just interested. I'd love to know that. Thanks.
God, that's a good one. So from Daytona, I would say, God, that's a good one. If you know, you know. I would say my favorite Pusha T song ever, aside from the story of Adidon, is God, what's my favorite? Numbers on the boards. Yeah, that's probably about. There's a bunch of good ones to pick from. Numbers on the Boards is probably my favorite song and one of my favorite videos as well. And then, but God, I don't know if you mentioned the album or not, but Alone in Vegas is another good one. Yeah, those are some easy top. I mean, there's so many good ones. And also, like, I'm a big fan of Clips. Clips kind of fell off because what's his face? Malice, was he No Malice now? There was 2 brothers, and Pusha T kept going, and Malice, saw God or whatever, and decided to call it quits. But I'm a big Pusha T fan, or a big Clips fan. So, by the way, shouts to Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, that whole area. That's where all those guys came from. Neptunes, the whole bit. So, all right, let's go now to the Skype machine. We are joined by our first guest. He is one of the most esteemed coaches in MMA. Just wanted to check in with him, like I always like to every so often. See how things are going, and he joins us now on Skype. There he is, Javier Mendez. Hi, Javier.
Hi, Luke. How are you doing, buddy?
It looks to me, I could be wrong, that you are in Las Vegas, Nevada. Is that right?
I think you're right. Yeah, I have a great host, George Roger from the Planet Hollywood. He hooks me up all the time, and I lose a lot of money, and he does a lot of good things for me.
Now, you spend your free time out there?
Usually when I come to the fights, the fighters have their one room or whatever they give them. I stay here at the Planet Hollywood under my friend George Roger because I get hooked up. I'm not sleeping with other guys when I can have a 2-bedroom suite to myself.
Are you there? I guess what I'm asking is, are you there on business?
Oh, this one's business. Yes, I'm sorry, business.
Can you tell us what the business is?
No. It's good.
You're no fun, Javier.
I know, sometimes.
All right, well, I want to check in with you because there's a few things floating out there in the ether that I thought were kind of interesting, and I thought it'd be a good time to circle back with you. Couple of things. So we saw this news about Cain Velasquez at something, and I'm not a pro wrestling person, so forgive me if I get it wrong, something called Triple Mania in Mexico, I believe. Either it happened before or it's happening soon, something like that. First things first, do you have a health update on him? How is Cain?
As far as I know, he was at Daniel Cormier's birthday party that we all had, and he seemed fine. I didn't really ask him how he was. We were just chatting about other stuff, but he was walking around fine. But I don't even know if he's. I don't know. I didn't ask him. I figured he'd tell me if I need to know something.
No, I don't know anything. I was wondering, like, after the fight was over, was he able to, like, walk home? Was he able to get around?
He wasn't getting around too well. The screwed up about that whole thing. Originally, when I saw the fight, I kept having to replay it. I never seen what the hell happened. And I was thinking, well, what the hell? It's just his knee gave out, right? And, of course, his knee gave out, right? But then it wasn't until I was home, and he leaves me a text message. He goes, I was fine until he hammer fisted me in the back of the head. And I'm like, what? Talking about hammer fist. So I replayed the goddamn video, and the very first strike that was hit was an illegal shot right behind the back of the head when he shot in. And that's what he said that day's the martini bid, and that's what started this whole sequence. But nobody ever saw it. It was an illegal shot. It was. If the ref would have caught it, it would have been a no contest. But he didn't catch it. Hell, I didn't catch it, and I watched it over and over again. And then I made up in my mind what I thought it was, and it wasn't. I was completely wrong.
So
It was funny, not funny, but it wasn't funny. I'm sorry, that was a stupid word, but it was one of those weird freak accidents, man. Whether intentional or not, I don't know. All I know is that he got a hell of a shot. When you slow it down and you watch it, it was a clear shot, the legal back of the head. And nobody talks about that because it's overdone.
And also, I'll be honest, I watched the tape 1,000 times. I'm certainly not suggesting you're wrong, but like you, I think I missed it as well. If what you're saying is true, I can't recall that.
Yeah, rewatch it, and then watch the very, Ngannou shoots a 1-2 at him. He misses both shots, and then Cain shoots in. As soon as he shoots in, he gets hit with a hammer strike right in the back of the head, and then followed up by sequence of punches. Then that one shot where he lifts with a straight up uppercut, it looks like it hit. It did hit him. A glance hit him, and then at the same time, right as it hit him, it looked like his head buckled, and then his knee went. But it was the shot before that we all missed. I missed it. If you don't pay attention, you're going to miss it.
I'll definitely go back and take a look. That's interesting. Now, has he been back in the gym since then?
No, he hasn't been back in the gym. Like I said, the first time I saw him was with that Daniels thing, and I knew about the thing from Mexico because he had made an agreement with the UFC. Because if you don't have an agreement with them, you're not going to be able to do it. But it was already agreed upon. So he's doing something for WWE in Mexico. I don't know exactly what, but it does involve with the Mexican League.
Now that's through WWE.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So you can imagine what the average fan's perspective might be. They see this injury, they don't hear from Cain, and the next thing they hear about him, he's doing some wrestling stuff, and they say, "Man, he kind of has one foot out the door." Is that an unfair overreach? Is that a panic response?
I would say 100%. Panic response. He hasn't said anything. All I hear from him is he can't wait to get back in.
Okay, very good. By the way, how overweight at this point is Daniel Cormier?
I don't know. He's happy. Let's just say he's very happy.
All right, fair enough. So is there, again, you're spitballing here. I just want a coach's perspective. Reasonable to assume Cain comes back this year? Reasonable?
If it does, late year.
Late year. Reasonable. So maybe more likely again, we're just spitballing here. Yes. Like a first quarter, second quarter 2020.
That means that would be more likely first quarter, second quarter 2020, yeah. I think, if he comes back, and you never know, right? I mean, he may say yes, and all of a sudden last minute he goes no. But right now, right. I haven't heard anything other than, he's still hungry. I do know that.
Here's the thing, Hop. As a coach and as somebody who I know cares about Cain, and I'm merely an observer, but I'm certainly an admirer of what he's done. Do you ever get bummed out about all the time he's missed? I mean, no one's probably more bummed out than Cain himself. But what about you?
I'm honestly heartbroken. Here, in my opinion, this is my opinion, okay? I think he could have been the greatest heavyweight of all time had none of these stupid things happened to him. I mean, there's some by his cause, some by my cause, some by just unforeseen things, And I mean, almost anybody that sees what he's capable of doing and what he has been doing obviously knows that there's no one like him. But this is an unforgiving sport, and he's had a lot of mishaps happen to him. And like I said, some my fault, some his fault, some other people's fault. But it's happened, and we just got to move forward. But is it depressing? Yes, it is. It's heartbreaking for me when I see these things happen to him.
I don't know how much you pay attention to like other sports, but I live in Washington, D.C., Hav, and my favorite team they're terrible, but I like the Washington Redskins. They have a tight end who goes by the name of Jordan Reed, 6'4", 240, super athletic. This dude just cannot stay healthy. When he's on the field, he is the most incredible specimen there is. I wouldn't say he was as good as Gronk, but very, very good. And you just never see it because he's got a shoulder or a foot or a concussion or this and that. And it leads me to believe, do you think some people, no matter their best efforts, they're just more injury prone than others?
Well, I'd like to think that, but in all honesty, I asked Cain, I said, hey, were you getting injured in college? He goes, no, never. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, I go, what the hell's going on here? You know, so I'd like to say yes. You know, that's an easy answer, but no, that's not the answer. I'm trying to think that it's maybe that if we do too much in one sport and he pushes his body too much and it breaks. You know, and we have to learn to stop him. You know, because he just got energy for days. You know, and he'll keep going. He doesn't know when to stop. You know, he won't stop unless you stop. So can you imagine that? So if I'm working with him and he seems to be always ready to go, so I'm pushing him further than I should, you know, and the next thing you know, boom, injury. Because why? The stupid coach went out there and did more work with him than he probably should have, you know. And I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying that's the case with him.
Fair enough. I want to circle back to Cormier in just a second. Let me ask you something else I saw floating out there. It happened with something Luis Pena had said, Mr. Violent Bob Ross. And I'm going to ask, not tell, because I legitimately do not know what the answer is here. To be a high-level gym, you got to have a high-level coach. You are one. You got to have high-level fighters. You got them. On some level, though, it's like a Division I program. You got to recruit, too. What are the ethics in your mind of recruiting fighters from smaller gyms to come to bigger ones like yours? What are the rules in your mind about the right way and the wrong way to do that?
We generally don't do that. We don't want to do that. We don't need to do that. You know, they basically come to us. I don't really like taking somebody who's been training somewhere else, you know, and then say, come over here to us. It's not fair. Let those individuals that have been work with them, you know. And if that individual, that fighter wants to come train with us, to me, it's like I let him and let his corner come with him. Let him be the people that are with him. Man, they worked really hard to be with him from the beginning, you know, and my attitude is, you know, stay with him. Like Luis Pena, you know, when he's had his first fight with us, his original corner was with him. And by all means, that was the greatest thing for me. But then something happened between them, and now it didn't work out. But to me, it's always should be that way. I don't like it. That's why for me, I like working guys from scratch. That way they're with me, and that's it. I don't really like working guys that have been somewhere else, and you know, and then I'm implementing what I want to implement on them, and then you know, I'm taking away from somebody else. If the relationship with their other coaches is good, then it should stay there.
Is not even speaking about AKA, but just generally, when you look around the industry, is that kind of recruitment from higher level gyms, is that a problem, or do most higher level gyms have the same benefit you do, which is you guys are so visible, people just come to you?
I think we're just so visible, people just come. I don't think American Top Team, Greg Jackson's, and you know all the other top teams, they you know Duke Rufus, and you know I don't think they recruit. I think just people come to them. I don't really see it. We don't recruit. The only thing we do recruit is through Dwayne Zink and you know and Crazy Bob. You know they're out there actively recruiting top wrestlers. So yes, but that's wrestlers that have no MMA experience. That's not wrestlers that you know are already fighting. They don't recruit them. They recruit the wrestlers that from zero. That's why you notice a lot of the guys we have are from zero.
That's right. So you get them right out of college, or when they're done with the freestyle circuit or whatever it is, and then you build them from the ground up like that.
Yes, from the ground up. That's the way we like to do it.
Fair enough. Okay. I was just wondering because there were some people chatting about it, but I don't know how big of a deal that is or it's not. All right, so let's circle back to, if we can, Mr. Daniel Cormier, as you telling me, enjoying me his wonderful birthday. We saw him commentating at UFC Philadelphia. Per usual, he did a wonderful job. Last time he was on this show was not too long ago. He was still rehabbing, I think, that thumb, or there was another injury he was dealing with. Is he going to fight in 2019, do you think?
Oh, 100%. He's fighting. He's fighting. It better be Brock. It better be Brock. Dana keeps talking about it. We keep talking about it. Let's hope Brock talks about it. We want Brock.
Now let me push back on this. You know? Let me push. Yeah, I get it. Let me push back on this if I can a bit, Javier. Look, we both know what the deal is. He's going to get paid to fight Brock. It's not very competitive to me. I think that Daniel's going to go in there and wax him. Like, why should I be interested in that fight?
Well, I think the Brockamania fans are going to be interested in that fight. It's going to be a spectacle to see it, you know, when he does it, how he does it. You know, I'm thinking we're winning too. But you know what? I've also thought Cain Velasquez was going to win some fights too that he didn't win. So there you go. There's that monkey in the wrench, you know. It just gets thrown at you, you know. This sport's an unforgiving sport, and it's a 50-50 sometimes, you know. You come in highly favored, you know, Luke Rockhold, Michael Bisping, you know, walk in the park. Well, Luke had an injury. Well, Luke pushed things. Well, guess what? walk in the park became an upset in history. So everything that you think appears to be just like that sometimes does not end up being that way.
Are you glad he pushed back his retirement? Yeah, which he announced, by the way, on this show.
I want whatever Daniel wants, I'm okay with him retiring now. I love the guy, he's my team captain and he's my friend for life. So I don't really care if he fights ever again. But, if he's going to fight one more time, I want it to be Brock because the big payday. I mean, that's an obvious thing here. It's not anything other than that. It's a big payday. And then what is prize fighting? This is more of a prize fight than it is a sport. Anybody that thinks this is a sport, then man, we're all effed up here. People are fighting each other that shouldn't be fighting each other. A guy loses a title, he goes up and fights for another title, and then he goes down again, and he fights another high level fight instead of earning his way back up. It comes down to eyeballs to the screen, who's going to pay, and the people do what they do to make business work, and that's what happens. Look at Mighty Mouse. I mean, as great a fighter as he was, why did he get switched over? Look at his pay-per-view numbers. Look at his viewership. Very, very low. So what did they do? They have to do what's right for the business. So is this a true sport? No, it's prize fighting. And I'm never delusioned by that. So I understand how it goes.
And also, he's still very competitive. And one thing that kind of bothers me, Hav, I wonder what you have to say about this. You see a lot of guys get to the top of the game in boxing, and not even necessarily the best ones. Not the Pacquiaos, not the Mayweathers, but like the Garcias, the Khans, right? When they start getting $1 million paydays, they stay in the sport and keep earning $1 million paydays. In MMA, you see guys make a few $1 million paydays, and then they're out. They don't stick around. Daniel's still competitive. He's at his peak earning potential. Why not?
Well, I mean, the thing is, if Daniel decides, hey, I want to continue to fight 3 more fights, and, Dana decides to throw more money at him and the money's too good to pass up, I'm sure Daniel's a competitor. He'll do it. But, let's face it, he's such an incredible announcer and incredible host. This guy can do anything, NFL, NBA, you name it. You put him behind a mic, man, he's magic. I'm sorry, that guy's magic. Anything you want to put him in, he can do, and he will do, and he'll do it to the best of his ability. And I don't think there's many people out there in the world of announcing and personalities that really have what that guy has.
Now, we just saw Justin Gaethje win over the weekend. I'm not sure if you had a chance to catch it, Hav, but I know you're familiar with Justin. He had said he wanted Khabib next. Now, Khabib's a tough fight, as you well know better than I do. He's a tough fight for anybody. But Justin Gaethje is interesting. The only 2 times he's been taken down in the UFC was when he was rocked by a huge punch. He got right back up from both, and he stopped every other single one. What kind of a threat do you think Justin Gaethje is for Khabib Nurmagomedov?
Not much.
Tell me why.
Not much. Because he ain't going to be able to stop the takedown. None of those guys can. He'll take them all down. And if they don't have much of a ground game, they're done. The only way it becomes interesting if Khabib decides to do things. Look back at all his fights. It's only when he decides to stand with people that it becomes a little bit trickier. I mean, he stood with Conor, so he gave Conor a chance. And I'm begging for him, go back to Father's Plan. Go back to Father's Plan. He screws with me all the time. He does the same thing with Michael Johnson. I'm telling him, what are you doing? Go back to Father's Plan. Father's Plan. That's what I call just wrestle the guys. Take them down, wrestle with them. And he does that all the damn time. He did that to Al Aquinta. Same damn thing. I'm begging him. I told him, look, Al's going to bait you. He's going to allow you to hit him because and you're going to be able to hit this guy. Don't get too comfortable hitting him because he's going to lure you in. All of a sudden, the guy hits really hard. I don't want you getting caught. Sure. Okay, coach. Okay. What does he do? Starts banging with Al. And then he's out pointing him. Just like I said, next thing you know, he's doing more. And then I'm just like telling him, can you please go back to Father's Plan? Nope. Then all of a sudden I said, okay, since you're not going to go to Father's Plan, why don't you do 50% what you want, 50% what we want? So he goes, okay, coach. Then he goes out and does that, But it's only because of what he wants. If he wants to take somebody down, he'll take them down. I don't care who it is. In his weight division, he'll take them all down. And guess what? If they get back up, he'll take them back down again. I've seen it too many times. I've never seen anybody like him. And we'll probably never see anybody like him again. The guy can take a shot. He doesn't even get phased. I mean, look at Barbosa kicks him in the head. It didn't even look like nothing. And then, Michael Johnson taps him right in the head. And I'm like, dude, he hit you. He goes, no, he didn't. I go, yes, he did. He hit you with a decent shot. I mean, you didn't show it very much, but, you can't get caught like that too much. But it's up Khabib. Khabib is the reason why these fights are more stand-up than they need to be. My choice is always just take him and smash him. And he can do that to every one of these guys.
So let's assume that's true. Last question on this. Let's assume that's true. I won't challenge it. That he, at 155, nobody can stop it. So answer me this then. How big and how good do you need to be before guys can start stopping him in the training room? You got to be a middleweight? You got to be what? Tell me when that begins to wear off.
Well, I don't know because I never had let him spar middleweight or won't do it. I won't let him do it. No, he'll want to. I won't let him. There's no way. He can do the wrestling, whatever, but in the MMA sparring, no. No, the most I will do is a welterweight. I've never done middleweights with him. I won't do that. It's just stupid. It's a little too big, too much horsepower on both sides, and I don't want any injury unless it's a middleweight that he can play with. But if he can play with him, why even be there? He needs to have somebody that can challenge him. So I put it. Everybody Khabib always spars are right within his weight. About the heaviest he'll go is his cousin. Abukar. That's it. And they spar each other so much, so it's not that much of a weight difference. No, I won't let like Luke Rockhold and stuff. Be crazy.
Okay. All right, but then tell me what your hunch is. How big do you got to be to really give him some trouble?
Like weight wise?
Yeah, if a 155er can't do it, what does your brain tell you about who could?
Someone like Luke Rockhold type weight. That those guys can do it.
Wow.
That ain't going to happen because I won't allow it.
Yeah, of course not. But that would be a sight to behold. Good Lord. All right. Well, you tell you what, Hav, I know you're there in Vegas. I don't want to keep you from those wonderful Vegas buffets or whatever it is you are doing there. Enjoy your time, and we look forward to seeing you back in someone's corner. And, of course, you're on the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks for having me. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
One of my favorite coaches in the sport. There you go. All right, we're going to wait on Mr. Josh Emmett, huh? We're going to get him on the show. Man, I was so bummed about that. Well, I was happy for the win. Don't get me wrong. And that was nice. And then when they announced the bonuses, I'm like, dude, this guy's got to be a lock, right? He's got to be a lock. Nope. Doesn't get a bonus. Couldn't believe it. Now, maybe they took care of him privately, and they didn't announce it. But I was dismayed. So I wanted to get him on the show. What a win it was for him. Great win at UFC Philadelphia. Joined now by top featherweight Josh Emmett. Let's put him up here on Skype. There he is. Look at that. Hi, Josh. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Luke?
I'm doing quite well. You got a couple of scuffs there on the face, but you have a nice, clean smile. You must be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, feeling great. I have just a little black eye and a few little cuts, but nothing major.
All right, man. Let's just get this out in the open. How on earth is it possible for a knockout like that you didn't get a bonus? I'll be honest. When you knocked him down and he went, it reminded me of the Edson Barbosa knockout of Terry Edom, where he went down like a wooden mannequin. I was like, he is a guaranteed lock to get a bonus, and it didn't happen. What happened, man?
Man, I thought the exact same thing. As soon as I hit him and it went down like that, I told Uriah, Danny, and Joey in the corner, I was like, finally, I'm getting a bonus. I thought it was a shoo-in for sure. And then I'm going backstage, and of course, the Branch fight went down, and he got submitted, but that's okay. And then Gaethje, I figured there'd be some type of bonus in the main event, and Gaethje got a nice TKO or knockout, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm like, for sure, I have to get one. And all the UFC staff, everybody was like, you're getting the bonus. Have you got your bonus yet? And then Danny pulled it up on his phone, and it didn't go to me. And I was like, I thought he was joking. I was like, there's no way. And that was the case. So I don't know what I have to do. I feel like, what more can I do to get a performance bonus? But I'm just super disappointed with that.
Let me be honest. That's a little weird that UFC staff would kind of say something like that without knowing, right?
No, it's just like people that I know, in the back. They've said it before, like, oh, you're getting the bonus for sure. Just kind of some of the people that I'm a little like closer with and things like that. But nothing like set in stone or anything,
Okay. Typically, it's the matchmakers who decide this? Like, how is your relationship with the matchmakers?
I'm cool with everybody. I don't really have much contact with them besides just when I see them fight week or at the weigh-ins and just kind of, shake their hand, say hi and things like that. But yeah, it's usually Dana White. I want to say Mick, Sean, and Reed, right? And they kind of vote unanimously.
Yeah.
That's just what I've thought. So I'm not exactly how it goes down, but.
Do you feel like you have to glad hand with them? You know what I mean? To like lobbying does work, right?
No, of course, yeah, it works for sure, and I know some of them are maybe a little tighter or closer to certain people's managers and things like that. So I know every time there's a great performance or big finishes, I know those managers are in their ears. But from a knockout like that, people were telling me it's one of the best knockouts so far this year. And it's don't get me wrong, it's the Masvidal knockout was great, the Pettis knockout, the Gaethje knockout, but they still had to follow up. I landed one punch and it was like the Lamas knockout, it was just one punch. I knew it was over, just walk off home run.
When you landed it, did it feel super clean?
Yeah, exactly. It landed and I just knew I hit him and I just saw him falling backwards and I wasn't going to follow up with any more unnecessary blows. I knew he was out as he was falling down.
Now, I know you didn't get the bonus, which I want to circle back to in just a minute, but you have to feel pretty good on one level about the year you've had coming back. And, Michael Johnson is a credentialed, well-respected opponent. That's about as nice of a win as you're going to get over a guy like that. You have to feel pretty good about that, yeah?
I felt great about the performance, about the matchup. That's the reason why I wanted that fight. I want to fight people in front of me, of course, or bigger names. And Michael Johnson's name was thrown out there. He's a veteran. He's fought the best, beat the best. He's never been knocked out like that either. And I've given a few opponents their first knockout losses, but I knew how much of a following he has, and just how good he is. And I wanted to truly test myself. I felt like I started a little slower, but even with that, I felt like I won the first round. The second round, I gave it to him, and then my coaches said, you need to just have a big third round, go out there and just let it go. I was being a little more cautious just because I've seen things that he's done. I didn't want to, rush into anything and get caught with just anything unsurprising and be on his highlight reel. So I know that I can finish the fight anytime. I know he could finish the fight anytime, and there was a lot of respect in there. As far as, because normally I'm just like in the mix. I'm pressuring people and I'm just throwing a lot of big blows. I had to really, step back a little bit and pick my shots and just be way more cautious than I typically am. And I knew it would come eventually.
How fast was he?
And this is the thing I was talking to my coaches about. I give all my opponents, they feel like too much respect. Just because I watch all their fights. Some people have fought some of my teammates, but I really do not know how fast, how hard they hit, how strong they're going to be until I physically get in there. I get a little advice from teammates and coaches that have fought him, and I knew he's really fast. I knew he's powerful. But honestly, as I got in there, it was not as fast or as powerful as I thought it would be. And that tends to happen quite a bit.
All right, I've been covering the sport quite some time. It used to be the case, and I know it's dwindled over time, but it used to be the case where if you didn't get a performance bonus, you would get something like a locker room bonus. And these would not necessarily be substantial sums of money, 5, 10K, sometimes more, but let's say roughly in that range. Did you for this fight, or have you ever gotten anything like a locker room bonus?
I haven't got anything yet, but I haven't got paid yet, but I know I'll probably get paid today, Monday or Tuesday. And yes, I have got locker room bonuses, but nothing like 5,000 even. I think the biggest one I typically have got was like $2,000-3,000. So I know they used to be bigger, like you're talking about 5 to 10, but I think they're a significantly smaller amount now.
Sort of a separate, larger question. Do you think fighter pay is? How would you classify the issue of fighter pay? A problem, could be better, about what it should be? Where are you on that spectrum?
Yeah, it could definitely be better. I feel like we're the, it doesn't get much higher. It's like we're the MLB or the NFL of mixed martial arts. I feel like there should be it's just too all over the place. There's people that come in and their first fight's 10-10, and then you're, of course, champions and people at the very top are getting paid a significantly bigger sum of money. Even with the win and show bonuses, I feel like it should be just a flat fee. You know what I mean? Because no one's trying to fight any harder, trying to get that win bonus. I'm trying to go out there and finish the fight with every strike I throw. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to finish the fight. I'm trying to win the fight. You're not thinking like, oh man, I got to pick it up because I really need that win bonus. I'm trying. So it would be nice to get paid just flat fees, but larger sums of money.
Like, what has to happen before you can get that? I've seen certain fighters get it, and they're usually a little more senior. I think Gilbert Melendez, for example, I think he either does or used to, get just a flat rate. I think Overeem might get a flat rate. There's a handful of them out there. Like, what does a guy got to do to get a flat rate?
Man, I'm not sure. I think it goes into how popular they are, and of course the management side, and just a lot of things kind of play into that. But I definitely think MMA fighters need or some type of security. Whether I know we just recently got insurance, I want to believe, but it's a big deductible if you were to get injured outside of the fight. And just like what happened with me, I fought in 2018 in February. I fought one time. I had significant injuries, so I only got paid half a check in 2018, and it was a tough year for my wife and I financially. So if there was some type of pay, whether it be monthly stipend or something, that would have definitely helped.
You don't have to tell me what she does or anything else, but does your wife work? Is she employed?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so there was something to be said for that during this past, what I'm sure was a very difficult year. At least something there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, she definitely, she had to basically support us, but no, I got paid, a decent amount, but not for the injuries I sustained. And, so it was just tough getting by, for going 13 months without me making a paycheck. It was tough. And it's not like I can go. I was doing little jobs helping some buddies that, are project managers and stuff like that, doing errands just to make a little extra cash. I had to sell some things. I was doing, personals here and there. But stuff. I couldn't go get another job because then I'm going to work full time. I can't train. And then when I get a fight, what am I going to do? Put in my 2 weeks? That's not me. So it puts you in a weird, like a tough situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because for example, Gordon Ryan, one of the best, he did the Team Alpha Male thing for Quintet. He's all banged up, but he's out there doing seminars constantly and making big cash. It's like, okay, that makes sense, right? Because even if you were pro jiu-jitsu, IBJJF doesn't pay you hardly anything, so that's really how you make your money elsewhere. But for you guys, the more extracurricular activities you take, the more it affects the thing you're trying to get back to. What are other teammates? Did they have any advice about what to do?
It's like a lot of the bigger name guys. They have, like their businesses going on. Like Chad has Fins and Feathers. Uriah does a lot of things, just outside of the sport, and that's something that I'm trying to establish. I would like to, I used to have a CrossFit gym. But we closed that down a little while ago. But other than that, like if there's other business ventures or anything like that where I could make some extra cash, that would be awesome. And that's one of the things that I did do while I had this long-term layoff was I was working with my doctor and nutritionist, and when we formulated and developed this supplement that we just launched. It's on my website, and
what's the name of it?
Powerful supplement. It's called Mastermind. It's on joshemmett.com. It's I always want to do a supplement line, and that was creatines, proteins, stuff like that. But it's so saturated, I can't compete with that. So during this process, he had me taking a lot of different ingredients and supplements to get what we put into this one powerful supplement. So instead of me taking a basket of things, I'm just taking 3 capsules a day, and it's phenomenal. I've been taking it for 3-4 months, and I feel like that's one of the reasons that got me back into training and back to fighting. I credit a lot to that.
So that's interesting. By the way, I saw you fight in the UFC. We got to get you back plugging that thing on Mark Bell's Powercast or whatever he's calling it these days. That'd be a nice plug for you right in the industry. But so what's in it? Like what? Citrulline, malate, creatine? What's all in this thing?
Yeah, there's a lot of like acetylcholine. There's a lot of things. So it's a 4-in-1. It's a brain booster, so it decreases stress, increases mood. It's energy enhancer, so it's sustained energy throughout the day. It's not like you don't have these highs and lows with these big stimulants. It also it's an anti-inflammatory agent, so not only just anti-inflammatory for the brain, but the entire body and joints, and it has a lot of ingredients in there for recovery. And so it just, I swear when I take it's like laser focus. I'm just like, I don't know, it's tough to explain. I feel great, and even because I'm partnered up with my doctor and stuff, not being biased, it is, if you look at the ingredients, it's just powerful ingredients. We have like 16 ingredients in there, and it's every time, people are looking at it, they're like, man, this is great. It's something we didn't want to put a few things in there and then people buy it, one time and be like, oh, this is crap, and never do it again. So we spent some money putting some expensive ingredients in there, hoping that they take it, they enjoy it, and they continue to buy it.
All right, well, I hope some folks pick it up. Let's talk about the rest of your year, because if you can't get a bonus, the best thing to do otherwise is to stay healthy and then just get back out there again. Now, I know I read a story that Beto Komodo did on you. You still can't feel the left side of your gums, as I understand it, but you did get licensed for this fight. You are allowed to compete. So from a health standpoint, how ready are you for a turnaround? Is there any concern there, given some of the lingering health issues?
No, I feel great, and that's one thing. I always want to stay as active as possible. As long as I'm healthy, I want to get in there and fight 3-4 times a year. And after this fight, I feel great. Like I said, it took me a little bit to get going. I've been out for 13 months, so I felt like my timing and everything, I don't know, was a little off, but I felt like I just started to open up after like the second and third round, really just kind of just let it go. So yeah, I wanted to turn around and fight maybe International Fight Week. I've never fought in Vegas. I want to fight in Vegas just so it's close to California. I'd have so many people out there, and it's a huge event, so that would be awesome, unless something popped up in June. But I want to get at least 2 more fights in this year.
Yeah. Where do you think you sit in the division after a huge win like that? I mean, bonus, not bonus, put that out of the side. Dude, that was a killer win.
Yeah. Thank you. And that's why I wanted to fight Michael Johnson. I got offered someone in front of me. I took it. He got injured, so that didn't go down. But then they threw out Michael Johnson's name, and I took it because he is one of the best. And I figured a big win over him and something like that, a big finish, of course, let alone just a great performance, would put me kind of right back in the mix where I left off. And so definitely I'll be fighting someone in front of me in my next fight, hopefully. And yeah, I feel like with the division and injuries and everything that's going on, you never know in this sport what can happen. And I could possibly be 1, 2, maybe 3 fights away from a title shot, if everything continues to go well.
Well, you know what? I know. I'm glad to talk under these circumstances because you won. I wish it was really, really, really good circumstances with the bonus. But, dude, keep your head up, man. That was I dropped my dishes in the living room when I saw you land that punch. I was so taken aback by it. That was a thunderous KO, and it shows you're a force to be reckoned with in this division. I hope you get a chance to go back out there and show that again. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke. You have a good one.
There he goes. One of the best. Josh Emmett. Really appreciate his time. All right, let's go now. This is every MMA fan's favorite guest. I love this guy. I think he can do no wrong in my eyes. So I wanted to get him in the studio because he's got a workout tomorrow, and he's got a big future in bare knuckle boxing in addition to all of his stuff on Showtime Boxing, which he obviously is going to be a big part of and has been for many, many years. Let's get Paulie Malignaggi in here. One of my old faves. It's been a long time since I've seen Paulie in person, man. There he is. Look at this guy. Got the Jordans on. Me too.
What's going on, man?
How are you?
Good, man. What's going on?
Good. Do I keep these on? I don't remember. He's mic'd up here. There you go. You don't have to sit right next to me. You can sit over there.
Yeah.
You can slide around if you don't want.
You know what's a big disappointment? The Snapple started coming with these plastic bottles.
Let me see.
The most disappointing thing ever. The glass, the glass keeps everything so much fresher.
You know when they did that? I noticed that when they did that.
I know, for the environment.
No.
That crap.
They did it to 40 ounces too.
Yeah, well, they ruin the drink because the glass when it's cold, the glass tastes so much better. I know. I don't know.
You know what? New Yorkers are bitter about Snapple doing that. You're like the
I'm
third.
still bitter about Gatorade doing that 20 years ago. You remember when Gatorade was 16-ounce glass bottles?
That's an old school pull right there.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm old enough to realize. Remember that. But at least when Gatorade went plastic, they gave us 4 extra ounces. Because you remember the Gatorade bottle with 16s like this.
Yeah.
And they was glass. It tasted good. But at least they weren't plastic. I said, all right, you know what? We're going to ruin the taste for you. So we're going to give you 4 extra ounces. Snapple just stayed with the same thing. Plastic.
Bro.
Ruined the game for me.
It's a look at the iced out.
Yeah.
How you doing, Paul? You feeling good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Now you live over in Jersey, right?
Brooklyn and Long Island.
Brooklyn and Long Island. Yeah. You got a couple places?
Well, I'm actually in Florida too, but I only go in the winters, and now it's time to come back up to New York. But that's like my trifecta. Honestly, I prefer Sicily as well, but it's kind of out of the way for me right now.
I can see that, yeah.
Last year though, in 2018, it was my first full year without fighting, and I was able to spend a lot of time in Sicily too. So
how is Sicily? What's it like?
I love it, man. It's
you get fat over in Sicily though.
You do though, yeah. You do kind of gain weight, but it's like beach weather 6 months a year. You have it's an island, so you kind of get that island mentality where you get a little bit lazy and you kind of just chill out, and there's a lot of stuff to do as long as it's beach oriented. Like there's clubs on the beach, there's restaurants on the beach, there's beaches on the beach, obviously. Yeah. And whatnot. So you're basically oriented towards that island, geared towards that island life. But it's chill. It's really chill. Now, plus, I like Italian culture, espressos and chilling in cafes.
Who doesn't? Now, you're obviously Malignaggi is an Italian name. Yeah. Is your lineage from Sicily?
Yeah, I'm actually part of my childhood was raised in Sicily. I lived in Sicily for 6 years.
Wow.
My father still lives there.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So your dad has the accent in the whole bit?
My dad speaks no English.
Is that right?
Forget about the accent.
Do you speak Italian?
Yes, I do.
Do you really?
Yeah, I speak Italian and I speak Sicilian. Yeah.
What's the difference between them?
The Sicilian is a dialect. It's not a written language. Every region in Italy has their dialect, where they speak it at home, they speak with their friends. But the proper language in Italy is Italian. Like if you go to a job interview in Italy or you go to school in Italy, for example, you're going to speak proper Italian. That's what they're going to teach you. They're going to teach you to write Italian. You're going to speak in proper Italian. That's more the formal way of speaking, But even in a job interview, say you're in Sicily where everybody speaks Sicilian, you go to a job interview, it will still be handled in Italian, because it's a professional setting. But of course, Sicilian and all other dialects, they kind of roll off your tongue faster. Everything's shortened. They're kind of this. It's a lot quicker and easier to use, But it's not a written language, so you're not really going to learn it writing it. You're going to learn it because it's used in the house.
So if your pops is still in Sicily, how'd you end up in Brooklyn?
My parents divorced when I was a kid. My mom's parents moved to the U.S. A couple years before I was born.
And she's
Italian as well. Okay. She was 18 when she moved to the U.S., but she was still dating my father. So she went back to date my father and get married to my father. And then my father played pro soccer, or football as they call it in Europe, in England. And he played in the 3rd division in Italy, Series C. And so he was going to keep playing over there, but the U.S. had the NASL at the time, North American Soccer League.
Yeah, of course.
He was going to try to get a job here. Instead, he wound up getting picked up by a team in Mexico. And so in the summer of '80, they moved to the U.S. where my mom's parents were, and my father went to Mexico to play for that season. And I was born in November. My mom was pregnant, so I was born in November. At the end of the season in June, because everybody knows soccer season goes from September to June, except in the U.S. where they just change everything.
Bro, don't get me started.
But so in June, my father's season ended. We moved back to Italy. He went back to Italy. So we stayed there until my father was almost retired, 86, and my parents got divorced. Because my parents got divorced, they separated. My mom's parents were still in the U.S., so we wound up back in the U.S. and my father's in Italy.
Now, what neighborhood did you grow up in Brooklyn?
Bensonhurst.
Oh, of course you did. Of course. Why did I even ask that? Of course you did.
Where else would it be?
I don't know. I mean,
if it was the 60s and 70s, we had other neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I mean, the 80s and 90s, it was Bensonhurst for the Italian.
Bro, you've been in a million Spike Lee movies by accident. Look at you. That is so funny.
Man, I'm telling you, if they made movies like that, now I would be the actor. You know what I'm saying? Like all those. Nobody has my accent. Nobody talks like me anymore.
No, they really don't.
It's a shame. It's kind of sad. You're gonna get me started on all that nostalgia. It's sad because first of all, my whole neighborhood moved to Staten Island. For my entire neighborhood,
move there, didn't
my
they?
entire neighborhood. But Staten Island's not really a neighborhood because you can't walk anywhere in Staten Island. You got to drive. So it doesn't have a neighborhood feel. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting on Staten Island.
I am shitting on Staten Island. Just so
listen, it's coming up. It's nice, but I tell you what, you need a car in Staten Island. Back in the day, like. Yo, we used to ride on our bikes all over the neighborhood. You know what I mean? I would be 12, 13 years old. I rolled through all the Bensoners on my bike. You know, I'm meeting all my friends and going anywhere I wanted to. You know, you can't really do that in Staten Island. As kids, you're still kind of structured in a way where you're kind of trapped in a certain region of Staten Island. You know, like when we were kids in Bensonhurst, we'd take our bikes and just go all over. We go to Coney Island even. You know what I'm saying? Because Bensonhurst is not that far from Coney Island. We could take our bikes to the beach in Coney Island and whatnot, or even jump on a subway and go there. You know, it was different. It was more neighborhoody. So don't get me wrong. You have everybody who moved to Staten Island and Jersey, even. Don't get me started on that whole Jersey thing, because I want to get started on that too. But it doesn't have that neighborhoody feel, because it's more spread apart. It's more spread out, you know? With Jersey, you know how many times I travel out of New York and people say you have a Jersey accent? A Jersey accent?
Yeah, no, you
Luke,
don't at
that's
all.
a Brooklyn accent.
I know.
You know what it is? All Brooklyn moved to Jersey. They had kids. Their kids speak like the parents. And so they start speaking, but they're raised in Jersey, so people think that's a Jersey accent. That's a Brooklyn accent from their parents that just passed down to the kids who now were born and raised in Jersey. No Jersey
funny.
Accent. Yo, you know, I'll tell you what's funnier. Now you're gonna get me started.
Here we go. Let's go,
Here's my
Paulie.
show. Remember, you've seen the movie Dumb and Dumber? There's some people, the younger people won't understand this joke. Remember, you seen the movie Dumb and Dumber?
Of course.
The beginning of the movie, when he's hitting on the girl and he rolls down the window, Jim Carrey does, and he's talking to the girl, the Austrian girl.
Yep.
He says, what lovely accent there. Where's that from? New Jersey? And she says Austria. The reason that was such a joke is because New Jersey had no accent. There was no Jersey accent in 1992. That's why the joke was funny. The joke wasn't funny because he misplaced the accent. She had an accent and he said the wrong accent. The joke was funny in 1992 when the movie came out because New Jersey had no accent in 1992. Now the Jersey accent is the old Brooklyn accent. Everybody's like, oh, you have a Jersey accent. Don't get me started.
Yo, bro, but Brooklyn has changed completely. I used to live
There
here.
is no Brooklyn accent. There is no Brooklyn culture really anymore.
I live in Washington, D.C., but I used to live in Brooklyn. I lived in Manhattan back in 2002, 3, and 4. And even then, there were certain parts of Brooklyn, like Red Hook.
Williamsburg was already changing.
Oh, my God.
Red Hook was starting to change at that time.
That's why I went back.
Red Hook was a slum when
It was a
kid.
complete slum.
You know?
I went back. It's completely unrecognizable. Now, some of the places that were nice back then are still nice, like Park Slope or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But Benson.
Park Slope was bad when I was a kid, too, though.
Is that
Park
right?
Slope changed over, yeah.
Okay, well, by the time I was here, it was much better. It was kind of expensive. But generally, you're right. Like that area, that Bensonhurst area, it's sort of the last of the Mohicans for Italian culture.
It was the last. And there's still a couple of spots there, you know, like I still keep a place there. But all that's left, the only Italians that are really there are the old people that didn't want to move out, you know. Some of my friends are still there, but most of them have moved to Jersey and Staten Island. And I even had a couple of friends that were holding out, and even just recently, they moved to Jersey, Staten Island. I'd be like, bro, you moved? And they were like, yeah, man, I held out as much as I could, but I couldn't, you know.
Am I allowed to say that Little Italy here in Manhattan is a little overrated?
Yeah.
It's a little overrated.
It was overrated when I was a kid. I'll tell you, man, when I was a kid, by the time it was like the mid-'90s, Mulberry Street was already swallowed up by Chinatown, really. You know what I mean?
Right.
Little Italy. It still kind of is. There's only a few blocks left. But I was always so proud of Bensonhurst. Be like, yo, we kept our neighborhood, man. Yo, don't get me wrong. I could appreciate Little Italy, but I would always say, yo, we kept our neighborhood. Bensonhurst is where it's at. But I have to say, man, now, actually, there's more Italian culture in the 3 blocks of Little Italy than there is in Bensonhurst. I never thought I would. As a matter of fact, I never thought I'd say that, to the point where I used to argue with my Boston friends. I have a lot of Italian friends in Boston, and they have the North End, which is, to me, the last Little Italy left in America.
I've never been there. It's legit.
The Boston Little Italy. It's not super legit, but it's like as legit as it's gonna get right now. You know what I'm saying? It's bigger. You have like little barbershops, cause you know, the neighborhood is not just Italian restaurants. You know, when you have an Italian area, it's cafes, it's barbershops, it's meat markets, you know, the salumeria, the pork stores, you know, where you get your cold cuts and whatnot. It has to have all that. You know what I mean? Otherwise it's not an Italian area. It's not just about pizzerias and restaurants. So the North End of Boston has all that. So to me, it's like, gives me that, aside from the bakeries and the cafes. So it gives me that feel of my old neighborhood. But in like the mid-2000s, like 05, 06, I used to have a manager from there. So I used to train up there a lot and go up there a lot. And I used to argue with my Italian friends up there, like, yo, man, you don't have no Italian neighborhood over here. Bensonhurst is where it's at. We got 18th Avenue. And they'd be like, nah, Hanover Street. It's Hanover Street. And Hanover was great, but I thought 18th Avenue was where it's at. Now I'm craving Hanover Street. Now I go to Hanover Street. I'm like, all right, you guys win. Thank God you kept it preserved, you know, because 18th Avenue, you go there, and don't get me wrong, I'm not against Chinese culture, because, you know, they're great people, and they're really sweet people, and it's nice people that move in the neighborhood. But I look at my neighborhood, and I'm like, oh, man, I remember there was a cafe here. I remember this cafe here. I remember this Italian record store here, you know, the Italian movies and CDs. And it's all gone. It's all gone.
Well, you know what? Things change like this.
They do.
I got to tell you, you don't change. You stay caffeinated, my friend. Look at you.
Yes. Well, they did have this tea. So.
You are full of energy these days, huh?
Yeah. I actually just worked out on before I got here. Usually, this would have been my workout time, but I said, you know what? Let me switch it up.
I appreciate you coming in.
I got in an early.
You're looking in pretty
workout.
good shape.
Yeah. We got.
I haven't seen you in a couple of years in person. I don't think.
Well, I think was I still fighting when we.
I think you were like
last chatted?
semi-fighting. I don't think you had officially retired at that point.
Okay.
But you weren't like.
I wasn't like as active.
Yeah. You were on the Showtime side.
Okay.
What's your shape like these days in terms of like what you can do?
No, we're training again. You know, we're on like a.
It's a process, yeah.
Yeah, it's a process. We're on a daily grind, but it's not like we're not 100% daily grind, but we're back on a day-to-day schedule where, you know, we didn't have that for a long time, you know? So we're on a day-to-day schedule, but it's not we're not going at 100, 150 miles an hour yet, you know? Like, we're going on a day-to-day schedule. We're going at the speed limit right now, you know?
Yeah.
And we're just kind of just getting our body back to the consistency of working and whatnot, you know?
So when you decided to retire the first time, what was it about that time in your life where you were like, okay, I think I've had enough?
The real thing that had me feeling down and out about was my body, the metabolism wasn't working for me anymore, you know? Like, I'm not a big welterweight, you know, and I was competing at welterweight, but I realized I was a lot stronger at super lightweight, you know, like, not that I was ever a big puncher, but I remember in the clinches at super lightweight, I could shift my opponents around. They wouldn't like push me around. I could maneuver guys where I wanted to. And ultimately, because of that, I was able to keep the fight on the outside where I wanted it a lot better, you know? As I got bigger, at welterweight, I had a lot more trouble holding guys off, and even on the clinches on the inside, you know, I had to be very clever on the outside, and I was able to be clever enough to win a world title at welterweight, a major world title anyway. But it was still like a lot tougher to win those battles inside the clinches. You know, I had good success at welterweight, probably most of the time against former light welterweights like myself. You know, like Adrian Broner was a good fight, but he's a former light welterweight. You know, but I think that was ultimately what really kind of got me burned out, you know, was trying to hold his weight because I knew I couldn't go up to light middleweight anymore. You know, the world-class boxers at light middleweight were killers, you know? And I'd be...
For folks who are listening, give an example of somebody.
Light middleweight would be Jamel Charlo, would be Jared Hurd right now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, and like, I'm not that size, but my body wasn't cooperating to get to welterweight anymore. Like, I would be killing myself to make the welterweight limit, knowing what was waiting for me at light middle, you know, and I'm like, I'm not going there. There's no way I could ever compete there, you know? Not to mention getting older, so your energy level is not as high anymore. So it was like just the work of getting to welterweight, and it was like so hard. Like, I remember starting training camps and be like, the week before I leave for camp, be like, man, I do not look forward to this. Where usually when I was younger, I'd be like, man, I can't wait to start camp. I can't wait to start getting my body going.
Was it like a shitload of road work or something?
A lot of road work, because road work obviously helps your conditioning, but it also helps your weight cutting, you know? But it was just like, just the stress, man. You know, then you get your weight down and you look at the scale and you're like, man, there's still work to do. And you're feeling like you basically, in a nutshell, I look at myself in the mirror. I'd be cut and skinny the way I would be. And at one time in my life, being this particular skinniness where I would be looking in the mirror, I would be like 145. Now, like, a few years have passed, you're just as skinny, but now the scale says 155. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, where am I going? You know what I mean? Like, now I gotta work harder to get that back down. Your body looks just the same. You're like, well, you know, when I was this skinny before, I was 10 pounds lighter. Where is it? You know? It's just, and people that, you know, are a little older, they'll understand that, who try to keep in shape at an elevated age, you know? I think, you know, when you get older, you just look at your body and make sure it looks good. You're not really looking at the scale anymore because you realize the scale is gonna not cooperate with you, but your body still looks good, you know? So that's basically where I'm at now, you know? It's like, you know, I will look better, but my body will not be as light as it used to be, you know? So I think with the fight with Artem, we're probably going to do 155. I mean, Artem's a bum, so at the end of the day, it's not like I got to worry about like, oh, this is a light middleweight where I got to fight Charlo, or I have to fight Hurd, or I have to fight, you know, Julian Williams or Jaime Munguia or whatnot, where it's like, oh man, these are light middleweights that are like destroyers, you know.
Right.
Fight him Artem Lobov, bro. We can fight at 100 pounds. We can fight at 200 pounds. Like, he's going to get knocked out. It's not going to matter.
Let's get to that in just a second as we sort of work through here. Like, physically, let me ask this. How do you know you're being honest with yourself? And here's what I mean. Mm-hmm. You know this as well as I do. You see athletes at the end, and they'll lie to themselves that they can get through it. And and sometimes they can't. Mm-hmm. How do you know that you still have enough to be? I know it's bare knuckle boxing, but how do you know you still have enough to be competitive? Forget Artem. I'm talking about just you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If I would be lying to you if I told you I could compete at the highest levels of boxing, professional boxing right now. I would be lying to you. You know, when I saw this as an opportunity, I said, you know, because I crave that spotlight. You crave the limelight, but you don't crave it where you're going to be at the mid-range anymore. You know, if you've been here and now you can't compete here, you get dropped down to here. Now here is not as adrenaline rushing anymore for you. You know what I'm saying? And you're doing all this work to compete here when you used to compete here. So it's like harder, you know? But all of a sudden, bare knuckle boxing gives you the opportunity to compete here while still, you know, being able to not only forget about the money. Forget about the money. The money's good. They felt me and gave me a good offer to fight here. But besides that, you get to compete here. You know, where in boxing, I wouldn't get to compete here. And it's not like just my name would just bring me here. I would have to work my way up to here regardless in boxing. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be able to work my way back up here in boxing, you know? But in BKFC or bare knuckle, because I'm such a name and they're kind of starving, it's a new promotion, starving for bigger names, I can start out here already. And honestly, no disrespect to the talent pool, but the talent pool's not on my level. You know what I'm saying? It's mostly washed up MMA fighters. You know what I'm saying? I'm not got an MMA fighter in his prime in bare knuckle boxing. You know what I'm saying? But so a washed up MMA fighter is not gonna have anything from me. No matter what anybody thinks about if I'm washed up or not washed up, regardless of whether I'm washed up or not, these are not prime MMA fighters. So, but not that I would have a problem with a prime MMA fighter in bare knuckle boxing anyway. But that's basically the way I looked at it. It was like, you know what? It's giving me the whole upside of a big promotion. Like as soon as I signed up, you know, I was getting calls from everyone. You know, right away. All the media
I had you on my other show.
Outlets were calling me right away, and obviously I knew that was doing the job for Dave. That's why Dave did it. You know, because they wanted the crossover media to where to cover the sport that wasn't covering it before. You know, right away, networks like ESPN and things like that were right away giving me calls. You know what I'm saying? And it was all because I had signed up. So I get why Dave had brought me on, you know? But from the other side, it also gave me that same kind of rush, that same kind of feel, that same kind of excitement. You know, like, it's one thing to do it. Sometimes, we're all narcissists as fighters. We are, you know? As soon as, you may get excited, and it may, but some days you're like, I don't want to go work out right now. But man, as soon as you start getting these calls, and you're like, yo, you know what? Everybody's looking forward to this, man. Like, I'm going to go out there and get in shape. You know what? Everybody's excited about this. It's getting me excited about it, you know? And right away, that passion kind of comes back, you know?
All right, so
you may lie to yourself to a degree.
Yeah.
But I know which direction to hold it in now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to lie to myself.
This is a more calculated.
Yes, this is exactly. Calculated is the right word, because I had to lie to myself at the end of my boxing career. You know, I really did. But this is more calculated. I looked at the talent pool. I look at the money. I look at, there's a different way of fighting. You're not going to fight exactly the same way. There's certain risks to certain upside, certain downside. And I feel like I calculated it right, you know?
All right.
And honestly, I mean, I didn't think there was any interest in the Artem Lobov fight, at least not for me at first, you know. But once it started getting mentioned,
bro,
I used to sweep it aside. Like, all right, this guy's a bum. Like, what am I gonna do with it? Then all of a sudden, like, I would see like my social media and everything is pumping up with it. I'm like,
did I not tell you? We talked about this before.
Know?
Did I not tell you he's a fan favorite? Did I not tell you that?
Yeah. But I don't think it's all just he's a fan favorite. I mean, he is, I guess. But it's more like I'm also like, because I have like this weird like relationship with the MMA crowd, you know, like it's become like this weird sensation.
Jose, it's funny you mentioned this. So do you remember? You may not remember this, but I do. Do you remember being in Washington D.C.? I interviewed you.
Of course, I was with for the John McCain thing.
Okay, so I want you to do me. I'll send you this. I have your number. I'll forward it to you. I interviewed you for MMA Fighting at the time. You should read the comments. The MMA fans are like, Paulie Malignaggi is so smart. Wow, what a great guy.
Yeah.
We love him. It was only when you started beefing with Conor that everything turned.
It was like Conor was this good guy when he's a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I started beefing with Conor because he's a piece of shit. I didn't start beefing with Conor just for the sake of beefing with Conor. You know what I'm saying? Like, and all of a sudden it turned on me. But, like, honestly, even before that, I could already tell you, because I had already been through ups and downs in my career, I could already tell you, fans in general are fickle. You know what I'm saying? So you're not going to rely on the love of fans to help keep you going. The love of fans, the passion of fans keeps your passion growing, because we're narcissists. We love that adulation. We love that fanfare. We love that. But really, I know it's not genuine. You know what I'm saying? I can tell you it was not genuine, even if I would have seen all the positive comments back then. Even back then, that was a couple of years ago, so I was already old enough to understand none of this is genuine. In my 20s, I'd be like, oh, these people love me. But by the time I got to my 30s, I know none of it is genuine. So it doesn't really matter if it comes my way positively or if it comes my way negatively. I take it all with a grain of salt because I know how fickle the fans can be. You know what I'm saying? I know how fickle the adulation and the crowds can be. It's the way it is. Matter of fact, you ever seen the movie Gladiator?
Of course.
With Russell Crowe. Everybody's seen it. There was a point where the Joaquin Phoenix's sister, she's trying to, talk with her brother, trying to stay on her brother's good side, and she's talking about, and he's mad that the crowd is Russell Crowe. She says, the mob is fickle, brother. Tomorrow, like, they'll be against them today. And that was right around the time I was turning pro. And I was already starting to understand that at the end of my amateur career. So just imagine by the time I went through my pro career, how much I understand this now. That line in that movie, it's so deep because the mob is fickle. The crowd, the passion of the crowd towards you will always be fickle.
Let me ask you
Today
this.
they'll love you, tomorrow they'll hate you, and they'll love you again the next day. You shouldn't ever take it that seriously.
How much do you like the fact that your name is so attached to Conor at this point?
I'll be honest with you. I thought at first it was annoying. At first I was like, what drove me to even do this? Like, that was so stupid. Like, I was retired. I was
to go spar and all that stuff?
Yeah, I was happy. Like, it wasn't really a big deal to me. It's still not a big deal. Like, that 12 rounds that he makes like it was like this intense fight, like we were fighting. That is one of the dullest 12-round sparring sessions I ever had. You know what I'm saying? The reason it was intense is because there was a lot of shit talking, and it was like, he had invited people, so I could tell like there was like an aura about the sparring where like, whoa, this is kind of weird, But like, I have had much more violent sparring sessions with much better fighters where I have been in shape and they've been in shape. Like, sparring sessions where you could charge at the door of Gleason's gym in those gym war days. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was, this one paled in comparison. The only reason it started getting an elevated feel was because you got there and like, all right, he had invited certain people. Dana White was there. One of the Fertittas was there. And then he was a lot of shit talking. So I got into the shit talking, went back and forth. But as far as the quality of the sparring, it wasn't that quality. It wasn't that intense. The fact that Conor felt it was that intense showed me what a pussy he was anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because if that was intense for you, bro, you hadn't even scraped the tip of the iceberg compared to what real intensity is in a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't lay on the ground in the guard for 5 minutes in a boxing match. You get your ass whooped if you're tired, and that's it. You're gonna get your ass whooped. And if you're gonna quit, you can't figure out a way to say, let me throw myself in here and let him choke me out so I can quit, and nobody will know I quit. You don't have that option. You have to sit on your stool. You have to tell the ref no mas, and you're gonna get criticized for it. And MMA, let me throw myself in here. Okay, choke me. All right, you know what? I couldn't do anything. He choked me out. You know what I'm saying? So you can kind of disguise it, Yeah. So the fact that, he even thought there was that intensity, for me was like, this guy's an ultra pussy. Like, this was not, it was all an illusion, really. You know what I'm saying? But in my career now, okay. But that was the thing. It was all annoying at first, It was only until recently now that I'm getting this offer to fight, in BKFC and the whole Conor and Artem thing, and it's going to get me paid. It's going to be paid money that I probably didn't think I was going to get anymore, which is why I retired too. One of the reasons I retired was, it's not going to tickle my fancy financially either. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a certain amount of money I have to make to a minimum gain in order for me to go through a training camp, get in shape, go through all the hassle of making weight and doing all that. Like, it has to be worthwhile even financially. And I kind of knew in boxing, my worth, my value had diminished to where I wasn't going to be able to get those kind of number figures anymore that would at least be intense enough for me to interest me, And BKFC came and the numbers started going up to the point where I was like, listen, I gave Dave a minimum. I was like, you know what, I won't fight for this amount of money, unless I get this amount of money. And if you don't give it to me, it's fine. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't expect to get that in boxing anymore either, but I don't have to fight. Nobody's putting a gun to me to fight. I'm not broke, so I don't have to go and fight. But if you give me this amount of money, you're going to get me to think about it, because it is a certain amount of money, And Dave started matching those numbers. So once we started matching those numbers, we started talking and going into more conversations and going in depth. We had to surpass that first. But once we did, we started coming closer to the agreement, and then we did. So then I realized, you know what, my name being attached to Conor's ended up working out for me. Like, I'm getting paid off this stupid beef. Like, I'm probably gonna end up making stupid money for beating the shit out of a punching bag. Like, Lobov for me is a punching bag with feet, bro. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to Jason Knight, who might actually beat him or might cut him. I don't know. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen because I don't want to talk about this fight with him fighting Jason. I don't know who Jason Knight is, but I know he was signed to the UFC. So if you were signed to the UFC, you have to have some kind of skill, right?
He's more of a grappler than a striker, but he's good enough to get.
But Lobov, if I close my eyes and I throw this bottle, like, it might hit him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might hit him if he's standing anywhere near me. You know what I mean? Like, he's that bad defensively. It's not like he hasn't.
Can I have that?
Go ahead.
We'll put it on the set.
Yeah. So, so it's not like, he's foul-proof where he's like Pernell Whitaker. Like, he can get hit and get cut, and the fight's off, Yeah. And I don't have a schedule to where I'm playing with. Like,
so if it's not Artem, who is it?
The fight has to be in the summer, or the fight doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. What I'm saying is, you guys, everybody's making like this guy's gonna get through April 6th. Let him get through April 6th before we start intensifying the promotion. You know
have you seen him fight?
Knight?
No.
Lobov?
Lobov?
I've seen him, yeah.
And?
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. He's got heart, and he seems to have a decent chin.
He's got a big punch.
I mean, for barehanded, everybody's got a big punch. Conor McGregor was a big puncher in MMA, but it's about accuracy when you have no gloves on or small gloves on. It's not even about punching power anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, McGregor's punching power when we got the boxing, you saw it yourself. I mean, I saw it myself in the gym. Regardless of what anybody wants to say about that video, he didn't drop me. He didn't even hurt me. He didn't get my attention. It's decent pop, but you saw it in the fight. Have you ever seen Mayweather walk anybody down so carefree in his life?
No.
In all the years Mayweather's been fighting, so carefree, so smiling, so just nonchalant. Okay, so where was the power? Because Mayweather wouldn't walk Golovkin down like that, I promise you. He wouldn't walk Canelo down like that, I promise you. So where was the power? So the power in MMA doesn't translate the same way because it's more on accuracy. And Conor's karate gives him that accuracy than anything else. And so that's but in boxing, where we're only dealing with punches, his accuracy is diminished. And when he does land, we're also more used to getting hit than he. So with Lobov, his accuracy how accurate is he going to be with a real boxer? I'm going to be accurate as shit. I'm going to use him like a dartboard. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to use his face like a dartboard. It's not about winning and losing here because it's not even a question that I'm going to win the fight. It's about how bad I can hurt this guy. For me, if I don't hurt him to a degree that there's something permanent there, like, it's not a win for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not looking to permanent, like he's got to get hurt. He's got to get wind up in the hospital. Like, something's got to happen to him. Like, because if I don't do that to him, then for me, it's not a win. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, because of course I'm going to beat this guy. He's a punching bag with feet.
Okay, hold on. It's one thing if you guys were to spar with boxing. I'm just playing devil's advocate. It's one thing if you guys are sparring with boxing, but both of you are in new territory here where the rules are not merely the rules, but the rules are a little bit different. It's just your hands, a little bit of tape. We've seen people cross over to other sports and take each other one.
How different is it? What's going to be the difference for me? What's the difference for me? You see my style. What's the difference for me?
Well, first of all, the rounds are shorter. Here's the thing. It's not about your style. It's about, I've seen MMA fighters.
I don't turtle up. I've never been a turtle up kind of guy.
You're a come forward guy.
No, I'm not even a come forward guy, but I'm a guy who makes you miss.
Yes.
I don't catch a lot of shots from the glove. You actually miss with me.
Heavy good footwork, heavy on the motion. What I'm saying is, MMA fighters, sometimes they just bite down the mouthpiece and they go, and all they need to do is strafe a little bit and they cause problems.
Yeah.
They're not better boxers, but they don't need to.
Your timing can throw me off a little bit, sure, but I'm telling you, you're gonna get walked into some shit. I'm telling you right now. He's going to get walked into some shit, and it's going to be fast, and it's going to be sharp, and it's going to be a situation where I'm not throwing haymakers, so I'm following up. Because a haymaker, if you lay the haymaker, you can't even follow up. You have to get back on your balance and throw again. I'm going to land. I'm going to land hard. I'm going to land often, and I'm going to be balanced enough to continuously land on you because I don't have to regain my balance when I throw a punch. I can literally pummel the shit out of you. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm going to do to this guy. I'm going to beat the living shit out of him. That's what's going to happen when we do get in there. But right now, let him focus on his fight because I don't want to jinx anything because I don't want to disrespect even his opponent for this week.
By the way, very quickly, there's this workout tomorrow. Where's the workout?
I believe it's at Mendez. I mean, he's doing the workout. I'm not doing the workout. I'm just showing up for some kind of media stuff.
Yeah, but your name is on the list, though.
Yeah. They want me to do
something. So he's working out, but you're just going to do media tomorrow?
I think they want me to just speak to the media and whatnot. And, I haven't really gone into detail or depth, nobody told me about any workout over there. No.
What is Showtime saying about all this?
Showtime's fine with it. I was fighting at the end of my career. I mean, I started working with Showtime in 2012. I was actually still a world champion in boxing. So, they signed me already as an active fighter. So this isn't anything new. The majority of the years I've been with Showtime, I was actually fighting, So, I've taken off the last 2 years from fighting, but it's not like it's new to them where I've kind of got to balance it out. As a matter of fact, this actually works out even easier. It couldn't have worked out better because Showtime has a bit less dates this year because of Fox picking up a lot of the PBC fights. So we actually are not working as often as we maybe did last year, So it actually has left me decently bigger gaps to start, be able to focus more on my training. I still get other gigs, like I still have, Ultimate Boxer in England, and I may do Conor vs. Crawford with BBC Radio in England. Okay. And there's little gigs. I may do Joshua with Sky Sports, but that's in New York, so it's Conor Crawford. So I still always pick up little gigs, but they're still to my schedule. I'll still be able to work them in because it's not like it's a 9 to 5. You know what I'm saying? These kind of commentating gigs, you have a couple meetings in a day, and then you'll go back to your schedule, or you'll commentate on fight day, and then you go back to your schedule. So it's not that difficult to balance out.
These allegations about Conor. Well, you saw what happened in Miami, and I'm sure you saw the New York Times
I mean,
report. Here's the thing. The thing that got reported in the New York Times, like Conor, don't like her. Like him, I don't know what to say about it. He hasn't been charged with anything.
Yeah, I heard about that in December, actually.
The phone thing is...
I have some friends. The phone thing was blown out of proportion. That's the media jumping the gun. But that's also the bus thing. I mean, the bus thing, I could have told you he wasn't going to go to jail for. You know what I'm saying? I had a road rage incident that was similar to that years ago.
Did you really?
Yeah, same thing. You just pay a fine and you're done. Like, I knew that was blown out of proportion. But, of course, it hyped up the Khabib fight well. But I'll tell you this. The phone thing, too, was a bit blown out of proportion. It really didn't show that he's a criminal, because, that's not really a criminal thing. But it showed he's a douchebag, it shows he's a jerk-off, like, that could have been any fan. Like, if you're a Conor McGregor fan, that could have been any of you that went up to him looking for a selfie.
You never wanted to throttle a fan before?
No, not in that situation, no.
Really?
No, like, I've had guys come up to me and don't get me wrong, I want to throttle a fan, but they're not close to me where they're taking pictures like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll keep their distance, or they'll, like, nobody's coming up. I guarantee you that guy didn't come up. If that guy wanted a selfie, I guarantee you he didn't come up and say, "You're a jerk off, let me take a selfie." I assure you that it doesn't happen that way. The dynamic doesn't happen that way. You know what I'm saying? So, I've had situations, but they're always from a distance. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's trying to get near me, because, even the fans understand if I get near this guy, he might beat the shit out of me. You know what I'm saying? So nobody's going to go near Conor and look to take a picture with him and insult him. I guarantee that wasn't an insult. But I tell you, I've been part of several different situations where guys, as I'm leaving the arena or I'm leaving but hey, Paul, take a picture, quick selfie. Like, and it's like, sometimes you're walking, you're like, oh, hey, all right, and he kind of goes, Yeah. But, Conor wanted to be the cool guy, and he wanted to be the guy who didn't want to be in the selfie at 4 a.m. I don't know, and he wanted to do that. But to me, that doesn't make him a criminal. To me, that makes him more of a douchebag, because, like I said, that could be any fan. That could be any Conor McGregor fan that likes Conor McGregor, and there are a lot of them. It could have been any of you at home that went up to him for that selfie and that happened. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like it made him a criminal, but it just makes him a jerk off, which I kind of already knew.
All right, so everyone keeps asking me this, so I'm going to ask you this. How much of this with Lobov is really just to get a fight with Conor?
I don't know what it would be to get a fight with Conor. I don't expect Conor to fight me, because I've kind of gone into this explanation before. The Mayweather fight was always forgivable for Conor. He's the best fighter ever in boxing, even though he wasn't at the time they fought. I mean, he was retired for 2 years and he barely trained. But, you have that whole geese of it, Then the Khabib fight, it's the best fighter in MMA. He can be forgiven for losing to that, even though, if you really can see through Conor, he picks his spots. He saw the way Khabib looked against Yaquinta and said, you know what, this guy's slipping. He's struggling at weight. I'm going to get him. Instead of giving Yaquinta credit, he took it like Khabib was slipping, and so he jumped on you. I assure you, if Khabib would have blown Yaquinta out of the octagon in April of last year, Conor would have went nowhere near Khabib, okay? He saw him go 5 rounds, had to work for it, and said, you know what, this guy's there for the taking. He's struggling at the weight. I'm going to get him. Wrong choice. But Conor was still trying to pick his spots. So again, he's not looking to fight the best. He's looking to pick his spots. But when Mayweather and Khabib, he gets wrong. The reason he can't do it with me, because my fight will pay him more than any other fight he can get, aside from the Mayweather fight. Because he's not going to get a Canelo fight. He's like, people, don't give me the whole, he get Pacquiao, Canelo. He's not going to get those fights. So I'm talking about realistically any fight he can get. Aside from Mayweather, he cannot get more money fighting anybody else, including Khabib rematch, than fighting me. He cannot get that kind of money. I know the kind of money that's being thrown at him. He cannot get that kind of money. But the reason he will not fight me is because you can be forgiven for losing to Mayweather because of the whole geese of the TB. You can be forgiven for losing to Khabib because no matter what the reason you actually fought him for, people will believe you actually wanted to fight him because he's the best, no matter what the real reason is.
Also, he is extremely good.
He is. Khabib is extremely good. He's the best, actually. Yeah. But that's not why Conor fought him. Conor fought him because he thought he was slipping, and he could have got him. Because Conor felt he was still the best when they fought. Conor wouldn't have went anywhere near him. Okay, if Conor saw the Yaquinta performance and said, I can get this guy. He's slipping. If Conor felt he was the best the time they fought, he wouldn't have fought him. But he knows the image, the perception is that he's the best. Let me get him. he was wrong because it's not just a perception, it's the reality. Khabib is the best fighter in MMA right now. But with Paulie Malignaggi, the perception is you knocked him down. The perception is you beat him up. The perception is now you're going to wind up in a fight with him, and he's going to beat the fuck out of you all over the place. And he's going to make you look stupid doing it. I'm not just, Conor knows, Conor sparred me. You know, I don't just beat the shit out of you. Now I'm going to talk shit. I'm going to embarrass you. I'm going to emasculate you while I'm doing it. And you're not going to like it. You're not going to like it. It's not just going to be a loss. It's going to be an embarrassment. So you, and people will not forgive you for the loss, not just because of the embarrassment of it, but because you lied to them. Your fans will forgive you if they're true fans for losing. They will not forgive you for lying to them. And because of the lie, they would never forgive him. So no matter for all the money in the world, Conor can't fight me. So the Lobov fight is not really to get McGregor. Like I said, it's for all the reasons we talked about before. Yep. You know what I'm saying? It's KFC's giving me an opportunity to be here. They're giving me more money than I thought I could get. It's all this. I've already discussed why I'm doing this. If the McGregor fight would present itself, sure, it would be nice. The entire promotion wants to get the McGregor fight. Dave Feldman would love to get the McGregor fight for me. You know what I'm saying? Because it would mean mega money and mega promotion even for BKFC. Yep. I think anybody involved will want to make Malignaggi and McGregor. The only guy that doesn't want to make Malignaggi and McGregor is McGregor and everybody directly involved with him because they understand the game is over once that fight happens. The show, the game, the flaunt thing, everything's over. Because once I beat the shit out of you after all the past we've had and all the lies you've told, you're done. You're history. Nobody will ever want to remember you again. So he can't have that. Not even his proper whiskey would sell anymore.
All right. Well, look, I could have had you for a full hour.
Sure.
We got to keep it rolling. You have an invite to the studio anytime you want. Let's get you one again either right before or after your fight. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure it out.
I'll have my people call your people. How about
all right,
that?
We'll do lunch.
Thank you so much, Paulie Malignaggi. My guy Joe will take care of you
all
here.
Right, watch that bottle. Don't hit Artem with it.
I appreciate you coming in, Paulie. Thank you so much.
All right.
There he goes. True gem, Showtime boxing analyst, bare knuckle fighter, the whole bit. Paulie Malignaggi. Really appreciate his time. All right, let's go to our last but certainly not our least guest. He had an unbelievable win on Saturday at UFC Philadelphia, blasting through Edson Barbosa in half a round. Can you believe that? I guess I can. He joins us now on the telephone. The one and only Justin, the Highlight Gaethje, is here. Hi, Justin. How are you?
What's up, man?
How are you feeling? That must have been one of your best wins yet, huh?
So tired. I just got home from the airport.
You just got home?
I've slept about like 5 hours since I fought.
Were you partying? What you been doing?
No. My parents wanted to stay. We went to the Phillies game last night.
Oh, and Bryce hit a home run, didn't he?
We left in like the fourth inning because it was freezing.
All right, fair enough. Well, generally speaking, man, first of all, congratulations. Among your UFC wins, that's got to be your best one yet, right?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
All right.
I just watched it, man. I did good.
You did really well. You know what folks are telling me? They're saying that Justin, they're saying that that's your smartest performance to date. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I watched, the ones I win, I watched in slow motion. And, yeah, dude, it was nice.
Now, what was, like, how has... Go ahead.
I said my coach is a genius. I didn't even know I was doing these things. But it's a good coach.
You're talking about Trevor Whitman?
Yeah.
Now, what was the game plan?
Go in there and beat me, but just control. This whole game is about controlling space. So that was the main, moment. I did good.
Yeah, you certainly did. All right, so let's talk about this just a little bit here. Where do you think a win like that puts you in the UFC?
I think a win like that, man, it's all about how you win nowadays. You got to win, but I won in very impressive fashion, and that in this game that does a lot. So I mean, I don't know. It's such a, I don't know if I can cuss, but it's a clusterfuck up there at the top. So I have no idea what's going on. I don't think anybody does. And I just got to kind of let it play out and then see where they want me to fight.
Would you say it's fair that you get the winner of Max and Dustin?
Yeah, I mean, sure, I would say it's fair. I'm a little biased.
Would you say that a win like that should put you in the top 5?
Yeah, whatever. I hope so. He was number 6, so I mean, at least number 6.
Yeah, certainly put you in a position like that. I guess what I'm wondering is, like, has the UFC ever talked to you about, like, their vision for you, or have you ever had a meeting with them, like, your vision for yourself? Like, here's what I want to accomplish in 2019. Here's where I see myself. Here's what I got to do to get where I want to go. Has there been any kind of formalized talk about any of these kinds of things?
No, not personally. I do. I've surrounded myself with a great management team, with great coaches, and at the end of the day, they make those choices for me. They know I'm going to fight. They know I'll fight whoever they tell me to fight, and all I worry about is preparation, and I trust the people that I've surrounded myself with to handle all of that.
You had mentioned something when you were interviewed by John Anik right after you won, and you were saying how you were surprised you can't get nervous. Were you nervous when you wrestled in college?
No, I wasn't. It's more like, so now it's more like I'm wrestling more so. I didn't use now these last two fights have been much different than previous fights ever for me. But yeah, just my ability, now it's like a wrestling match where I can concentrate and make decisions. I'm actually trying to process things. So yeah, I'm having fun.
So does that mean, like, previously you were more nervous, like against Johnson or Poirier or Alvarez? It was a little different?
No. Again, preparation is everything, and we just saw what's that can happen. You get knocked out, he goes home. Edson gets to go home. He gets to have a baby. Life goes on. There's no doubt about that, and I understand that. And so I just go in there and I try my hardest, and that's all I really go.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that could be next. It seems like you could be ready to go right away. Are you looking for a quick turnaround, or are you looking for the right fight?
I think it's the right fight. Absolutely. I mean, that's important to me. I'm trying to fight for the title, 2019, 2020, whatever. I'm going to work my way up there, but those are my goals and aspirations. So I'm not going to be looking behind me right now. I think I earned that.
You probably did. Now, here's what you noted. The top of that division's kind of a mess. You got Conor doing whatever he's going to do. Khabib might come back at some point soon. Tony's just kind of on hiatus. That's kind of why I was asking about the winner of Max and Dustin. Now, maybe that person fights Khabib, but it just seems like that's sort of the space you're in now. And that's sort of why I'm pushing in that direction. Your manager was saying you should only be in a number one contender fight or more, right?
Yeah, I think so. But the sport's crazy. Who knows what can happen? If one of those guys gets hurt, I'll definitely be ready. I mean, when is that fight?
That's in Atlanta in about 2 weeks.
Ooh, I don't know about that. He kicked me pretty damn hard.
Are your legs banged up?
He landed 2 hard kicks, man. Those low kicks we were kicking each other with are no joke.
Is he the hardest kicker you've ever faced?
He's the best kicker I've ever faced by far.
Ooh. All right. Fair enough.
I haven't kicked very much in the legs. They don't usually have time to kick me back.
No, they don't. He certainly made a point of it. You had mentioned something after the fight that you're the best challenge for Khabib Nurmagomedov. Tell me why you believe that.
Yeah, I think my wrestling credentials alone would benefit me, so much in that fight. My ability to stop the takedown, and I'm very confident in my stand-up. I'm confident in my coach and the game plan that we would come together and go out there and execute. And yeah, I think with my athletic ability, I'm tough out for anybody. So at the end, I think a little bit of this is chance, and so you can't fail or prosper without going out there and taking that chance. So I got to put myself in a position, and I think as opposed to anybody else at the top of the division, I would be the toughest out for him, no doubt. And it's a challenge that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it's interesting. I looked at the 2 times you have. Do you know how many times Fight Metrics says you've been taken down in the UFC?
No, probably a lot, because that thing's kind of jacked up.
No, actually, just twice. Once in the first round against Michael Johnson, and then once barely in the 3rd round against Eddie Alvarez. That's it. And both of those are from guys who you were kind of trading with. Khabib's not that guy, so it makes sort of an interesting challenge.
The only way Eddie took me down is when he knocked me out. The other one wasn't a takedown by any rules.
I know.
Rules, anyways.
I'm just saying. Yeah, fair enough. I'm just saying what the numbers say.
Hey, I got through wrestling. I wasn't the best wrestler, dude. I'm athletic, and my ability to scramble, create scrambles. We're sweating more. I'm more slippery than people wearing singlets and wrestling a college or any wrestling match. So all those factors come into play when it comes to that grappling. And yeah, I'm not going to go in there to wrestle with them. I'm going there to stop takedowns, and that's what I've been good at this whole time. And in the clinch, I throw hard shots.
So there's no doubt in the stand-up you would certainly be better than him. But to play devil's advocate, if I could, it could be noted that like no one has stopped his takedown. Why are you that guy?
Who knows, man? I think I got a great. My wrestling coach is Ben Charrington. 2006 national champion for Boise State, NCAA. So I mean, I work with him twice a week. And if I was to get that fight, my training camp would be based around being in shape. I know I could stop. I know, I'm not saying I could beat him in a wrestling match, but a wrestling match is what I did my whole life. He's not going to go out there and dominate me in a wrestling match. What it comes down to is my cardio being up to par with his and the ability for me to grapple in as many situations and get in as many scrambles as he's able to get into, because that's where he breaks people. He gets you into scrambles and you get tired. That is some tiring stuff. That's why I avoid it, because I don't want to get tired. I want to try to knock them out. You can't pin people in a fight, and I'm trying to get out of there as soon as possible. And so, that would be my focus. If I would and will focus on that if I fight Khabib. I'm starting to do it now so that when I do get that fight, I can wrestle for 25 minutes if I need to.
I'll
wrestle for 25 minutes if I need to.
Yeah, fair enough. You're on back-to-back first-round KO wins, right? And that came after your first two losses in your career. I'm wondering, to come out on fire the way you have the last two fights, what did you take from the Alvarez and Poirier fights?
Well, I mean, it was two losses. I was able to go back to the drawing board, man. I never went. Every time I won, it's just you just have to keep building on what was successful. That's how this game works. It's like a roller coaster. When you're up, and you're down, and down. So we got to ride those waves. And I was having so much success in the style that I was choosing to go out there and fight because through my 7 amateur fights. And then through those first 18 to 25 fights in a row, not one. I went out there with one goal, one intention to create chaos, and I was 25-0. So you can say stuff all you want, but there's no reason I would ever try to change that. And once I've fought the best guys in the world. Poirier is bar none. I think one of the best stand-up guys that there is in my weight class, and then just technically wise, his ability to take angles and stuff is just crazy. So to fight those guys is crazy.
Yeah, fair enough about that. So I know there was a bit of controversy a little bit after the fight when you were doing some post-fight media. And, of course, you had like Karen Bryant and Paul Felder on the set. I don't really want to dig too much into it, but just sort of like see where you're at now. Are you still as upset at the way that went now, having had a couple days to sit on it?
Oh, I haven't even thought about it again.
No?
I haven't thought about that. No, I don't care, man.
So you don't feel like they were trying to take your shine? I mean, they can't, dude. You're the one who got the knockout. I think they were just.
No, I think it was an unprofessional move on Paul's part. Paul's part. I think he knows that, and he's there in a different status than me. I was a fighter that night, and he was an employee or a staff member, and I was caught. I was just really caught up. I didn't even know what was happening until like the second time. I think when Karen brought it up, and I was like, oh, I wasn't even. I bet that was probably like 17 minutes from the moment I stepped out of the ring. Probably less than that. I bet it was maybe like 10 minutes. No, it was at least 15, whatever. But dude, I'm telling you, I hadn't seen the fight. I hadn't, it was just from the moment they tell you, you have about 4 minutes till you're going to go in that hallway to make that walk to the octagon. That's the last time you get to kind of process anything. And then after that, until, win or lose, it's over. You know, you can't process me. It's a million miles an hour. You know, thousand words a second. You're trying to take in everything, trying to not miss specific things, trying to do interviews, trying to make the decisions that you need to make to not, you know, sound like a fool. It's just a crazy emotions that you're running through. So you have to control your emotions and all that stuff. So, yeah, man, I have no idea. I was just caught off guard, and that was all it was.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I guess the idea would be if you're going to be a fighter, but you're going to be commentating that night, you got to put the fighter stuff to the side for just that evening.
I mean, and now after the fact, that's 2 times in a row. Like, he's got that opportunity. You got to think about it for, like, who knows how long he thought about, you know, asking me those 2 questions on those 2 nights. I didn't get 1 second to process that. And he got, you know, probably like 3 weeks to go over that, I don't know, whatever. So, yeah, it's just not fair, for one, and it's not what I'm there for.
Well, you know, the good news is I think the thing that most people walked away with on Saturday was
the headline because we had a lot of interviews.
Yeah, no. I don't. First of all, I don't make the headlines, and don't worry, I don't suspect that this will be the lead topic anyway. But I just wanted to sort of circle back to it just the same. All right, man. Well, look, that was a tremendous win.
Good job.
Hey, let me ask you one last thing about the Barbosa fight. You had mentioned that you had a good game plan with Trevor Whitman, one of the best in the business. How much do your game plans differ fight to fight?
0.
So then how do you have to come up with a game plan?
To be my best self, man. No one could beat me when I'm telling you, watch that fight in slow motion. That was great, man. I can't even believe it. So I'm excited to see how good I can be.
Yeah, that was about one of the best performances I've ever seen from you, and I've seen them just about them all. So, Justin, go get some sleep. We appreciate you spending some time with us. Sorry we're a little bit late, but congratulations. That was one hell of a win, and I do think you deserve somebody at the top of that division next, whoever that may be.
Yes, sir. You have a good one.
All right, there he goes. The highlight.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. The highlight, Justin Gaethje. There he goes. All right, let's do this. We got a little bit of extra time, and we haven't finished yet. So why don't we do this? Danny, why don't you come back on here, and we'll finish up some of the calls, and then I'll end on some tweets. How's that sound? Why don't we do that? Get you ready back there. I know I'm springing it on you because I'm unfair, but that's the way I roll, dog. That's how I do it. There he is. I had a little trouble with his phone in the first 5 minutes of that interview.
That was a great interview, though.
No. I would appreciate his time. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying it was. I couldn't tell if he was dropping it or something.
Yeah. Well, when I called him, I think he was a little bit low on battery. So.
Oh, I missed him plugging it in. That's what it was.
Yeah, maybe that was.
I'm gonna keep this plastic bottle from.
Yeah. I was talking.
Oh, I should have had him sign it. F.
Maybe next time we have.
All right, next time he comes in, I'm gonna have. I want
in Brooklyn. So
yeah, it's not too far.
Yeah.
He is caffeinated. That man is caffeinated.
High energy, bro. High energy.
Very high energy.
Yeah.
All right, when we get.
Wait, I missed the last part because I was switching off to cams.
Yeah.
Do you want to tackle tweets a little later on the show?
Yeah, so let's do this. Let's do about 10 more minutes of calls.
Okay.
You stitch them all together when they go on YouTube finally.
Yeah.
And then I'll do tweets at the very end.
All right.
How's that sound?
Yep, sounds good.
All right, let's hit it.
Awesome. All right.
By the way, for folks, tell people the truth. Paulie's a nice guy. I mean, that's a Conor.
Paulie's great. Yeah,
he's a nice guy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's truth to 98% of the people that you see on the media. Like, if any fan meets any fighter, most likely, dude, they're gonna be nice people. Yeah. They're just regular human beings. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I feel like across the media it's easy to hate, but in person,
they're people.
They're people, man. You know what I'm saying?
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Grab me a call.
Yeah, let's talk about a key welterweight matchup that got recently announced.
Luke, Danny, how the hell are you? This is Jay calling out of Brandon, Mississippi. Listen, I wanted to talk about the Woodley versus Lawler match. Lawler's 1-3 in his last 4. I don't think it makes sense for him to fight the number 1 guy, other than Usman, of course. What are your thoughts? I thought that, if anything, Lawler should fight Pettis and Woodley should fight Ponzinibbio. Give me your thoughts. Thanks for taking my call.
Rematch. What do you think about it?
We talked about this a bit on the MMA beat. I'm not nearly as upset about it.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was the best fight to make. I guess I would have preferred to see something fresh. But yeah, I don't really. I mean, again, we talked about this last week on this show. I'm not one of these guys who gets super upset about matchups. Again, here or there, I'll get upset if it really makes no sense. But I'm not one of these guys who gets super excited about them or super depressed about them. I kind of just stay even through all of them, and I don't think this is the best choice, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, Sam, I didn't really have any strong feelings towards it. I'm like, it's going to be a good fight. I'm actually somewhat excited to see it because, we know that Robbie Lawler has one hell of a chin, right? And the first bout, because the fight was so quick, we kind of got robbed on how it would look if it would stretch over a long period of time, which I think could be a very fun fight.
Yeah. Look, it's people act like it's a bad fight. Yeah. It's not a bad fight. It's a good fight. Maybe it's not the best one to make, but it's all right.
And correct me if I'm wrong. This is hard to put into words. I don't really know how to describe it, but both Tyron Woodley and Robbie Lawler, for some reason, carry, I don't know if it's because they were, former champions, but they carry a certain aura that other contenders don't carry in the welterweight division.
Agreed.
So this matchup actually feels like, it could definitely, this shouldn't, it feels like it only belongs in a pay-per-view card. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like
they're putting it on a fight night.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It feels like it should belong.
I see. You see that they've misplaced it.
Right.
Yeah, maybe.
Don't you think? I don't know. It has like a.
Well, we'll see. There could also be a question of.
It feels like a big fight.
It does feel like a big fight. There's a question of maybe one of these guys might be too old. We'll see. Maybe not. No one really knows, and this fight will tell us the answer to that.
Yeah, I suppose. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Why is my hoodie falling down my back? There we go. Go ahead.
All right, now let's talk about something you just touched on with the Justin Gaethje interview.
Hey, Luke, big fan of the show. This is Gabe from PA. I was just hoping I could get your thoughts on that post-show interview with Paul Felder and Justin Gaethje. It seemed like, now, if they make that fight, sign me the fuck up. I think Paul Felder is one of the few guys that can match Justin Gaethje in just terms of pure savage durability and toughness, But Paul Felder was there working as an analyst, and you could tell Justin Gaethje didn't really appreciate the call-out. He even said in the post-fight interview, that he felt like him and Karen Bryant were trying to steal his thunder.
I get what he's about to ask. I have a couple comments on it.
Yeah,
we'll appreciate the call. I was just trying to move through as fast as possible.
Yep.
Here's what I would basically say. Look, this is not to Justin, but to the UFC is who I would say this to. You kind of reap what you sow, man. If you want to have active fighters who are calling fights or serving as analysts, here's the good news. They're plugged in ways a lot of other athletes or a lot of other commentators might not necessarily be. Here's the bad news. They're going to call fights against their rivals. They're going to call fights against their rivals' friends or teammates or people they hate. They're going to interview people who are in their division, and they're going to do what Paul Felder did. I don't think what Paul Felder did was the best thing, but I can't really say I blame him because no one told him he couldn't. In fact, they probably told him, if you're going to, now's the time, start it here. This is the reality of having active fighters in those roles. If you want that to happen, here's the lesson. That is inevitable. It is absolutely inevitable.
Yeah.
Deal, not to Justin, but to the UFC. You're going to reap what you sow on this one.
Yeah, man. And to further your point, like, we live in an era where rankings, and in that interview, Justin Gaethje was saying, rankings don't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? We live in an era where talking, getting your name out there, causing controversy, calling somebody out is worth a lot, right?
Yep.
So, of course, and fighters are out to, look out for their best interest. So I can't blame Paul Felder for that. But that's what he's going to do because, hey, if that's the fight he wants, he's got a camera in front of him. Everybody's watching.
It's
what I'm saying?
It's the hype business. What better way to get some hype than got the guy who's just coming off the KO win?
Yeah, exactly. So, I can't really blame any of the guys there, but the UFC for setting this up. I mean, I think it's not bad if you have, fighters, active fighters, calling these fights, fine, have it. But when it comes down to interview, the post guy, post fight, it's their time to shine. You know what I'm saying? So maybe just have, say, Karen Bryant or one of the interviewers that, is not an active fighter, conduct the interview and have, the active fighter sit out, especially if they're in the same weight division. I felt kind of the same way, and I think this guy handled it like a complete professional, but still, there was a little bit of a weird feeling there.
I understand Paul's feeling. I understand Justin's feeling. They're going to clash. They're going to clash. You keep that around, they're going to clash. This is why you should have Jimmy Smith.
Same thing when, exactly, there you go.
You wouldn't have to worry about any of this.
When DC called Justin Willis' fight against Curtis Blades in the post-fight interview, DC handled himself like a complete pro, but nonetheless, I felt like there was a little bit of of tension there. I don't know. You know,
I don't look. I think that Paul is a great commentator, but maybe on the analyst desk have Jimmy Smith.
Exactly.
But they decided they didn't want to have him because he's not a former UFC fighter, which is a very stupid idea. But here we are.
All right, on to the next question. This one comes up often, but I feel like it's fun to revisit, especially as new tracks come out. So let's hear it.
Hey, Luke and Danny. This is Aaron calling from Sydney, Australia. Simple question. What would your walkout song be if you were a UFC fighter? For me, I would choose Face the Pain, just so I could be the biggest heel and make everybody hate me. All right, thanks, fellas. Love to know your thoughts, and thanks for all the great content. Keep it up. Bye.
I feel like low-key you'd do the same. True or not?
I hope all of you die.
You wouldn't do the same? I feel like you would do it because I feel like you're so passionate about this topic that it'll just pump you up. Like you'd be ready.
I'm not passionate about walkout songs. I'm passionate about not slumming it with dumb shit music that's old and that nobody likes. I've said this before. It's like, of all the things you want to debate, like, oh, what should be this color and what's the best way to run this production element and blah, blah, blah. This seems to be like the no-brainer of it. It's like maybe at the concession, this is how I hear it every time someone says it. Like, I like Face the Pain. This is like saying, all right, at the concession stands, we're going to serve beer, pretzels, hot dogs, and feces sandwiches. And I'm raising my hand being like, maybe don't serve feces sandwiches at the concession stands. Be like, no, dude, people love them. I'm like, I don't really think that that's true. I don't think people love them. And they've kind of phased it out, to be quite honest with you. I've sort of, I think I've harangued the folks in the know a little bit.
They bring in bodies, every now and then.
And it's like I just can't believe this is an issue. It is a terrible song. It is outdated. It dates the product. It was never good to begin with. It's certainly not aged well. And they keep recycling it like it's some like this is, When the Levee Breaks by effing Led Zeppelin or something. Like it's some iconic track. It is basura, garbage.
Yep. All right, but anyways, what would your walkout song be?
It would be Big Mouth Strikes Again by the Smiths.
Okay. I think I'll go with Chambea, Bad Bunny.
Of course you would. Why wouldn't you?
Chambea.
Of course you would. That's a fine song. That'd be a good one. With the gun going off and everything?
Yeah. Carón no te quedan balas. All right, let's talk about Eddie Alvarez.
This is Justin from Las Vegas. Huge fan of the show, guys. Just moved out here from Mobile, Alabama, and loving it so far, 1 month in. My question is, if you guys caught the One Championship card at all, I only watched the DJ and Eddie Alvarez fights, but it looked like Eddie was moving much slower, and he wasn't his normal self. He didn't want to engage as much as he usually does. Can you touch upon this?
Yeah, that was not a great performance from Eddie. And I don't think that's controversial to say. Now, here's the thing that I won't do. It's one fight. Mm-hmm. I'm very hesitant to read too much into it, Danny Segura. I'm very hesitant to read into it. Oh, he's done. Show's over. He can't hang anymore. I will acknowledge that it was a bad performance. I will acknowledge that it did look like something was off. But I've seen this before where I'm like, oh, here we go. It's the beginning of the end. And then they come right back out and they look fine the next time out. Could be a lot of factors. Could be they didn't take the guy seriously. Could be they maybe had an injury. Could be maybe he is done and we don't know it yet. Could be the travel. Hard to really say exactly. He also has had, look, dude, Eddie's taken a ton of damage in his career. So what does it mean? It means this. It wasn't good. Let's see how he looks in the next one before we draw any firmer conclusions.
I'm with you 100%. And to best, put this into words, Kamaru Usman, I think it was Kamaru Usman. He had a great tweet. He said Eddie Alvarez is the type of guy to go to a promotion, lose, then go tear the division and win the title. So that's what he did in the UFC.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make much of this loss.
Although his debut against Cowboy was more competitive.
Of course, yeah. That's true. But it's safe to say, there was a much younger Eddie Alvarez. But, he was rocked, in that fight. So, I don't know. I'm not gonna say Eddie Alvarez is done. I think, we need to see a few fights and then see how he looks.
Jose, you cannot rule it out either.
Yes, of
but
course.
You don't want to jump to conclusions. By the way, here's who he fought in the UFC, just so everybody knows. This was his UFC resume. Donald Cerrone, Gilbert Melendez, Anthony Pettis, Rafael dos Anjos, Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier again. Dog, You want to talk about fighting murderers? That is who he fought, murderers. So, yeah, maybe he is a little bit, worn down. It's possible, but I don't want to declare it until we have some more evidence.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we got to wait and see what happens. Plus, like, every time you jump into a new promotion, new weight cutting, right, travel, everything, like, there's so many factors involved that, like, it's way too early to speculate. We got to see some more.
This is his first back-to-back loss scenario in his career, though.
Huh.
It's the first time that's happened. That's never a good sign. Yeah.
I mean, we just got to keep an eye on it and see what happens.
That's exactly right. He could come back and blow the doors off somebody next time. So let's just see.
All right, we got time for one more.
Let's do one more.
All right. What do you wanna talk about? What strikes you think should be illegal, or maybe a little bit of Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier?
Let's talk Max. I'm pumped. By the way, Jose, let me say this.
Yeah.
I've got a special Monday Morning Analyst next week.
Nice.
I have one because there's no UFC event this next weekend, right?
No.
Buddy boy, I have
get some good sleep.
I am the foremost Max Holloway whisperer. I feel like that's true. It's probably not true, but I feel like it's true.
He loves your Monday Morning Analyst.
Dog, his coaches love it too.
He called Yarden. He's like, yo, don't give away my tricks.
Jose,
yeah.
I found something in the tape, and I was like, next week, boy. Next week. You will see.
I'm excited.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so let's discuss that. This one's a little long, so I'll cut it short.
This is Killian calling from Los Angeles, California, by way of Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta?
A couple questions for you. With UFC 236 quickly approaching, I was wondering if you thought, between the two, Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier, who has improved the most? Obviously, Max is on a 12-fight win streak. He's looking unstoppable these days.
I'm cutting right there.
Sleeping on.
Yeah.
Who do you think has improved the most?
The answer,
Holloway or Poirier?
Yeah. Which, by the way, who has improved the most is not the same question as who is better. They are two. The answer could be the same, but they are not necessarily the same. Mm-hmm. Max has clearly improved the most. He was further behind. He has made up more distance. I just don't see how you can argue with that. His sophistication and his development has been extraordinary. At the same time, that doesn't mean Dustin Poirier also hasn't improved. He has. You just heard Justin Gaethje talk about it. I talked about in the Monday Morning Analyst, all the angles he was taking. He was either getting out of the way of Gaethje or forcing him to turn all the time. Go back and watch. It was actually really, really slick how he was doing that. That was one of the reasons why he won, and he held the leg kicks down and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, point being is he has improved massively as well, and also went up a weight class, so he feels better as well, too. So there's that. Now, Max is coming up, so we'll see what that means. But Max has improved more is the answer.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy answer. I mean, just look at, where they were at in their careers. And I'm not saying Poirier hasn't improved. He's improved drastically as well, but Poirier was already a legit contender at featherweight. Yep. I think from that fight, if I'm not mistaken, he went on to fight maybe one more and then the Korean Zombie for title eliminator.
Yep.
Whereas, Max Holloway was literally just getting started. That was his first UFC fight,
And they had to go fight the Will Chopes and everybody else of the world. So he had a much further distance to climb.
Yeah. But Poirier was already established at that
Poirier was that's why Poirier kind of ran through him the first time. The first fight was not close.
Yeah.
But in the 7 years since then, it's been Max making up more ground.
Yeah.
Which is why the rematch is so exciting.
Exactly.
All right. I got to do some tweets because then I got to get out of here, okay?
All right.
Great work this week. Get better.
Thank you.
All right. Time now, ladies and gents. Time now for a round of tweets. All right, 5 minutes on the clock for you, jabroni. As soon as it goes up, we then go to the tweets. Let me see the clock. There we go. Hit it, boys. And we'll get it done. All right. Clock is ticking. There we go. So, Luke and Danny, it seems that March was a very prolific KO month in the UFC. Who do you think will benefit the most in terms on getting the UFC machinery behind them? For me, it's my boy, a.k.a. Masvidal. Masvidal's got that fight with Askren coming up, so that'll be a big deal. Probably Masvidal made the biggest one, but, you want to talk about a major change in the career of Anthony Pettis. He needed that win bad, and, boy, it is big. The one for Gaethje should be as big, but it probably won't be. But there you go. Next. All right, how much does Eddie Alvarez's loss affect his legacy? His legacy, probably not a lot. The fact that it was a back-to-back loss, as I mentioned, is a bit of a problem, but I don't think it changes his legacy exactly, especially if he comes back and roars in his next performance. So we'll see. Next. It's a quality show. Thank you and the crew for the efforts. Yeah, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Next. What did you think of the decision win Casey Kenny got over Ray Borg? It was an exciting fight with lots of scrambles, and I do think Borg did enough to get the W. Who would you like to see Kenny fight next? Oh, here's the thing. I thought Borg won that as well. I can see a scorecard 29-28 for Kenny. The 30-27 I don't really get. And I understand Kenny's points. Like, he didn't do anything but get the takedown and hold me. It's like, okay, some of the better striking definitely came from Kenny. But Borg got a lot of takedowns, had a lot of control time, escaped a lot of bad positions, was kind of initiating a lot of scrambles, trying to go for the back. I kind of thought he deserved the W. So who should be next for Kenny? Next in line. I don't have anyone in particular, but I don't think it's a travesty that Kenny won. Don't misunderstand me. It's a 29-28 is a defensible scorecard, but 30-27 is not, and you got to feel bad for Ray Borg given everything he's been through. Next. After the Michelle Waterson victory, both Anik and Olivi asked her about going to Brazil to see Namajunas versus Andrade. Is it fair to take that as Waterson has the UFC's blessing to be the next challenger? Remember, she's rep by WME IMG, so they probably would want to put her in a position. By the way, I thought Michelle Waterson looked awesome as a fighter on Saturday night. I really thought that was a complete and just a really strong, veteran, prepared, well-rounded performance. I really, really, really appreciated what she was able to turn in on Saturday. And yeah, dude, they signed her, like WME reps her. Like, yeah, they're gonna look. This game is not necessarily the fairest one. Now, you could make an argument based on her wins that she should be there, but the reality is also this: in life, it is who you know. Well, she knows the people that own the company because they rep her. Next. How did you get your beer so fluffy? This company called Cremo. Put it in your beer, donks. Your beer doesn't have natural oils like they do on your scalp. You got to put it in there. So there you go. Next. Let's see. Is Justin Gaethje the most exciting fighter on the most consistent basis? I don't see how anybody could possibly argue against that. I don't see how that's even debatable. Absolutely 1,000% yes. If I had to ask you to pick one fighter against any other opponent who you could reasonably rely upon to be exciting, would you pick anybody else? Next. Pettis mentioned in his post-fight wanting the winner of this past weekend's fight. How do you think he matches up with Gaethje? Do you think that will happen, or will they match Pettis and Gaethje up with others? Well, Pettis is up a division, so I don't know how that's going to work. Certainly, I know he wanted the rematch against Edson to get the win because he wants the same one against RDA, is what he told me last week. Against Gaethje, it's like, I don't know, man. Pettis has been in a lot of wars, and I that's a tough fight for anybody. That's a really tough fight for anybody. If I'm Pettis, I'm going to say don't take that fight. You got a good thing going at welterweight. Ride that out, and then come back to lightweight when everything's sorted out. So that's what I would say. And I would match up Pettis with, I don't know, somebody, again, he beat the number 3 or 4 guy, so let's see where that puts him in the rankings, 5-ish, 6-ish, depending on how they put him, and then match him around there. Next. Are you noticing McGregor fatigue amongst MMA fans, journalists, as it relates to his behavior? Dog, I've been had McGregor fatigue. Personally, it's affecting me because I feel there's more substantial discussions to be had about active fighters. Yeah, I mean, chiming in all the time from the sidelines like that. He's not the only one that does it, too. I love Nate Diaz, but Nate Diaz does it as well. And you're constantly inactive. And then for McGregor, he's got these law enforcement issues, whatever you want to call them, and he hasn't won in a while. Like, yeah, there are people who are kind of checking out on him a little bit. I think that's true. Next. Are fans underestimating the skills of fighters in one championship? Yes and no. There is no possible way to say that one's fighters are even close to as good as the UFC's fighters in aggregate. But the guy that Eddie Alvarez fought, there's a good argument to make that he was very underrated. Shouts to Kaposa, Grabaka Hitman on Twitter. If you guys don't follow him, you should be. He's just a fan, but he's as knowledgeable, if not more, than any media person who does this professionally. And he was saying before the fight, he was like, this is closer than people think. Keep your eye out for this guy. He was absolutely right. He called it, and he at least had an awareness about what this all meant. And so, look, do not overstate things. One has eons to go before they're even close, roster to roster. But can, in a division like 155 where everyone is good across the world in those weight classes, right? It's the deepest weight class. So if I go to Russia, they've got good 155ers. If I go to Canada, they got good 155ers. If I go to Brazil, they've got good 155ers. It's that good of a division. So in individual circumstances, yes, it can be possible. You can find diamonds in the rough like that. It's still the rough. All right? Thank you so much to my guests, Javier, let's see, Justin, Paulie for coming in, Josh Emmett. Thank you, guys. Keep sending the tweets using the hashtag #TheMMAHour. Keep calling 844-866-2468. Until next time, stay frosty.